Chapter 2025. The one who came to Earth from deity continent to look for her. Yun Jian smirked. Oh my, Sister Jian, you actually took in another disciple behind my back. What does he look like? Is he as handsome as I am? Otherwise, I won't acknowledge him. Once Gunyinji heard that Yun Jian had taken in another disciple, she patted her hair to let her fringe fall before playfully flipping her hair like a dashing man. However, Gunyinji's imitation of a dashing man was a hilarious one. When she flipped her hair, her head swayed along with it. You have to know that I'm the top expert in the continent, matchmaker Gunyinji. Not only am I handsome, but when I'm ruthless, I can even beat myself up. Hey, Sister Jian, why are you still so far away? Gunyinji had been putting on a dashing pose, but when she glanced at Yun Jian from the corner of her eye, she realized that Yun Jian had already walked away with her hands in her pockets. Gunyinji abandoned her pose immediately and chased after Yun Jian like a chick chasing after a hen that had gone far away. The top expert in the continent, Song Yuhu stood where he was repeated with a frown when he heard Gunyinji. Since he could not figure it out, he decided not to think about it. What top expert in the continent? The continent? Could it be that she still thought of herself as someone from another world? Why were the people following Yun Jian a bunch of weirdos? This would not do. After he got Yun Jian, he had to make Yun Jian stay away from these weirdos. As he thought about it, Song Yu ran after Yun Jian and Gunyinji. Inside the hospital, buildings are lined up neatly. All the outpatient buildings in the hospital were surrounded by walls like school buildings, cafeterias, and other places that belonged to the school. The east, west, north, and south gates of the hospital were guarded by guards to allow vehicles to pass through. Yun Jian and Gunyinji had just exited the north gate of the hospital when Song Yu spoke into the phone and blocked their way. Where are you going? I have a car, I'll give you a ride. No need. Yun Jian gave Gunyinji a look, then walked around Song Yu and was about to cross the road. Honk, honk, honk. Just then, a silver-gray Mercedes-Benz stopped in front of Yun Jian and Gunyinji. A head popped out from the driver's seat of the silver-gray Mercedes-Benz sports car. The person glanced at Song Yu and said, "Young master, I'm here." Seeing his cool silver-gray Mercedes-Benz sports car parked in front of Yun Jian and his housekeeper calling him "young master" in front of Yun Jian, Song Yu felt a little proud. This car is mine. Beauties, hop in. Song Yu tilted his head and opened the door for the front passenger seat, looking like he was inviting Yun Jian to get in. One had to know that many girls knew that he had Mercedes-Benz sports car at home and would fight to get in. Song Yu looked at Yun Jian expectantly. Just when Song Yu thought that Yun Jian and Gunyinji would fight to get in, a fiery red flagship limited edition Ferrari, LaFerrari, came drifting from afar with a hard brake and parked beside Song Yu's Mercedes-Benz sports car. When the two cars were parked next to each other, it was easy to tell which one was more expensive than the other. Just as Song Yu was stunned, the sudden appearance of the limited edition LaFerrari sports car that only 3 units were sold in the world, the supercar that was usually talked about and envied by the boys, was right in front of him. While he was amazed and wondering about the origin of the sports car, a woman walked out of the car. A woman got down from the Ferrari LaFerrari and went to Yun Jian, passing the car keys to her right in front of Song Yu and saying softly, "I'm sorry. Sister Jian, your car." The limited edition sports car they talked about with the boys, the one that they could only dream of but could not get their hands on, was Yun Jian's. Song Yu's eyeballs were about to fall out of their sockets. At the same time, Yun Jian and Gunyinji had already gotten into the Ferrari sports car. Before they left, Yun Jian left Song Yu with a statement that made him look like he had just eaten *T. The words that came out of her mouth nearly made Song Yu vomit blood. "I'm sorry, your Mercedes-Benz sports car specifications are too low. I've never sat in such a low-quality sports car, and I'm not used to it." Hey. When he saw Gunyinji suddenly appear in front of him, Li Nong's fair and delicate face didn't change at all. "Kid, brat, you're amazing. You don't even care about me? Which continent are you from? Tell me your name." Gunyinji's hands were on her hips, looking like she was ready to show Li Nong who he was. Yun Jian's lips curled in amusement at the sight. "Deity continent, Li Nong. The handsome young man's eyes flickered as he replied, "Haha, so you're from Deity Continent. Aren't you good with words? You. What the F asterisk CK did you say? You're from Deity Continent? Then you're deity? Deity?" Gu Nianji did not react at first, but when she did, she was so shocked that she nearly choked. Gu Nianji was from Yulong mainland, and Deity Continent was a legendary place in the eyes of people from other continents. Gu Nianji choked on her own saliva from the shock and coughed violently. Cough, cough, cough. Cough, cough. Li Nong thought that Gu Nianji was cute when she pretended to be arrogant and accidentally turned it into a joke. Seeing that Gu Nianji was about to choke, Li Nong couldn't help but reach out to pat her back and ask, "Are you okay?" With that slap, Gu Nianji could clearly feel Li Nong accidentally lift the strap of her bra. Li Nong retracted his hand in a panic when he came back to his senses. The strap of her bra bounced back like a rubber band and stuck to her skin with a soft pop. Hey! Chapter 2027. The slap sound was originally very soft. It was so soft that only the two of them, Gu Nianji and Li Nong, could hear it. However, the park was very quiet. It was so quiet that even the chirping of birds and insects could be heard. In such a quiet park, Li Nong saw that Gu Nianji, who was choking and coughing, was almost out of breath. He reached out to kindly pat her back to relieve her. However, he never expected that his long, fair, and neat fingers would accidentally pick up the strap of Gu Nianji's underwear. This was the first time he had touched a woman's underwear strap. Li Nong felt his earlobe burning a little, so he didn't show it on his face. However, his heart was in a panic, and he quickly withdrew his hand. He pretended not to notice that the hand that was holding the underwear strap had withdrawn too quickly. The underwear strap was like a rubber band, and it directly rebounded on Gu Nianji's skin with a slap sound. Li Nong was so scared that he almost retreated. His pure, curious, yet panicked face actually revealed a trace of red. Obviously, this was the first time Li Nong had accidentally touched a woman's underwear strap. Yun Jian also heard the slap sound. At that moment, Yun Jian only blinked. I'm sorry." Li Nong scratched his delicate hair and said softly, You, what's the use of apologizing? You rascal. So what if you're a god from the gods' continent? How dare you touch me?" Gu Nianji blushed when she thought of this. In the next second, Yun Jian saw Gu Nianji chasing Li Nong all over the park. In a place where Yun Jian couldn't see, Gu Nianji chased after Li Nong. She couldn't catch up to Li Nong, but she refused to give up. As she ran, Gu Nianji suddenly tripped over a tree root in the park. She cried out and fell forward. "Be careful!" Li Nong stopped running. He was about to catch Gu Nianji, but she suddenly pushed him down. In the next second, by the time Gu Nianji reacted, she was already sitting on Li Nong. However, the two of them never expected that Gu Nianji would actually sit directly on Li Nong's thigh with that fall. It just so happened that there was a thin layer of clothing between the two of them, and they were not far apart. In the next second, Yun Jian heard Gu Nianji scream. 3 minutes later, Gu Nianji ran back from afar in a huff. She glanced at Yun Jian and told her, "Sister Jian, I'm going back to the hotel," before running off. Yun Jian's eyes lit up. Li Nong had come to look for Yun Jian. That was right. So Yun Jian asked Li Nong to get a room at the hotel where Gu Nianji was staying. Yun Jian had no idea what happened between Li Nong and Gu Nianji after that. 3 days later, Yun Jian secretly went to the hospital for a pregnancy test. Yun Jian was still in a daze when she received the list. She's actually pregnant. The baby is a month old. More than a month. Wasn't that the time at the beach by the rock? It turned out that she did not take birth control pills that day and was really pregnant. Although the mystery man was still alive and Yun Jian was afraid that her pregnancy would cause problems, she was both surprised and delighted when she heard the news. She did not plan to tell C.E. about her pregnancy right away. C.E. would definitely be surprised if he knew, but looking at the time now, the mystery man should have her covered and could assassinate her and C.E. at any time. If he knew that she was pregnant, he would definitely protect her with his life. Therefore, even if she had to tell him, Yun Jian planned to tell him later. However, just as Yun Jian was about to stuff the pregnancy test into her pocket and walk out of the hospital, a slender and well-defined hand, snatched the pregnancy test that Yunjian was about to stuff into her pocket. His familiar voice rang out immediately. "What's this?" Yunjian looked up and saw Siyi's handsome side profile that made one forget to breathe. Yunjian did not expect Siyi to come to her at this juncture. She was so shocked that she wanted to take the pregnancy test back from Siyi. However, it was too late. Siyi's deep gaze had already scanned the doctor's note beside the pregnancy test. Pregnancy confirmed. A. Chapter 2028. The words pregnancy confirmed were striking. When Siyi saw the words, his dark eyes twitched violently. His Xiao Jian was pregnant? He had a child. Xiao Jian, are you feeling unwell? Are you feeling unwell? Siyi stuffed the pregnancy report into his pants pocket after reading it, and wrapped his arm around Yunjian's slim waist like he was protecting a national treasure. Did she kick you? Siyi placed his other hand on Yunjian's abdomen and stroked it gently. For the first time, his handsome face that was infuriatingly handsome, yet aloof, showed a surprised smile. It's only been a little over a month. She shouldn't be in human form yet, right? Yunjian blinked. Siyi was clueless about all this. He even thought that the child would kick its mother's stomach once she was pregnant. At the same time, Yunjian was about to walk out of the hospital. When they were about to go down the stairs, Siyi scooped Yunjian up horizontally and turned ahead to the gynecology department. Yunjian blushed like a red apple. It was an expression she would only show in front of Siyi. Where are we going? Yunjian's eyes flickered when she saw Siyi carrying her back to the gynecology department. She did not know why. We're going to ask the doctor how to prevent miscarriage. Siyi was clueless, but he was willing to learn for her. I can walk on my own, Yunjian said with a blink as she was carried by Siyi through the crowd in the hospital. All the passers-by who passed by Yunjian and Siyi stole a glance at the couple from the corner of their eyes. Oh my God! The two lovebirds were carrying each other in a princess carry. All the passers-by turned to look at them. However, Siyi did not care about that. He carried Yunjian and headed to the gynecology department without a blush on his face. In the gynecology department of Jiangxing People's Hospital, the gynecology department's female doctor, Dr. Jiang, was holding a cup of steaming tea and taking a sip as she gave consultation to a couple in front of her. The child is already 6 months old and is developing well. Come for an ultrasound next time. Come again in August. Dr. Jiang took detailed notes for the couple in front of her with a black pen and reminded the pregnant woman's husband. Yes, yes, yes. Thank you, doctor. Thank you, doctor. The pregnant woman's husband bowed to Dr. Jiang excitedly. You're welcome. Remember to bring this book next time. Dr. Jiang handed the registration book to the woman's husband. Just as Dr. Jiang passed the registration book to the pregnant woman's husband, she saw Siyi, who carried Yunjian into the clinic. Yunjian was Dr. Jiang's gynecology department's. Dr. Jiang shook her head in pity when she saw how young and pretty Yunjian was, but she was pregnant with a child, and the child's father did not come with her. She really did not know what kind of scumbag had ruined this young lady. Therefore, when she saw Siyi carrying Yunjian, Dr. Jiang was still in a daze for a moment. What was going on? She was not ruined by a heartless man? Are you here for abortion? You're still young. You should take precautions in the future. Don't be afraid when you're pregnant. If you have too many abortions, you won't be able to get pregnant in the future. Sigh, young people nowadays, when do you plan to have an abortion? I'll arrange it for you. Dr. Jiang shook her head and picked up her black pen. She wanted to set the date for Yunjian's abortion. Most of the college students she met secretly came alone to have an abortion. Of course, there were also boyfriends who accompanied them to have an abortion. There were even many girls who had an abortion 3 or 4 times in a year. Dr. Jiang had seen many of them. When the couple next to them heard Dr. Jiang's words, they glanced at Yunjian and Siyi with a strange gaze. However, they saw Siyi put Yunjian down and hug Yunjian in his arms, as if he was protecting a treasure. The moment Dr. Jiang was about to register the abortion date, Siyi's eyes flashed. He said bluntly, "You're a doctor. Tell me how to take care of the fetus." A. Chapter 2029. I won't be free for the next 2 days. Why don't you set the abortion date for the day after tomorrow? I have to go out tomorrow and the day after tomorrow. Take care of the fetus? You want to take care of the fetus? Dr. Jiang had originally taken out her notebook to mark out the date for Yun Jian's abortion and asked Yun Jian and C.E. to choose a specific date. But who would have thought that C.E. would actually say that they wanted to take care of the fetus? Take care of the fetus. Was this for real? It was very common for university students to date each other nowadays. If you walked on the streets, you would see university couples walking hand in hand sweetly. Many university students who did not have enough life experience and yearned for adult life would steal the forbidden fruit and not know how to protect themselves. This also led to the fact that in recent years, university girls who secretly came to the hospital for an abortion accounted for most of the abortions in the year. In Dr. Zhang's words, those who had the guts felt good, but those who did not had the guts to give birth. They had to secretly come to the hospital for an abortion without telling their parents, classmates, and teachers. If the situation was better, the boyfriend would accompany the girl for an abortion. If the situation was worse, the girl would secretly come to the hospital alone to bear the burden. Dr. Jiang had worked in the gynecology department for many years. She had seen many such things and was used to it. There were many university students who came to the hospital for an abortion. There were countless boyfriends who accompanied their girlfriends to the hospital for an abortion and urged the girl to get an abortion quickly. They were afraid that the girl would not get an abortion and would blame it on them. However, Dr. Jiang had never seen someone like C.E. As soon as he walked into the outpatient room, he did not anxiously ask when the abortion could be done. Instead, there was a hint of nervousness on his handsome face as he asked how to take care of the fetus. Are you sure you want to take care of the fetus? Dr. Jiang repeated. Are you sure you want to take care of the fetus and not have an abortion? Yes, I'm sure. Yun Jian nodded. Although Yun Jian did not want to tell C.E. that she was pregnant immediately, Yun Jian had never thought that she would have to have an abortion after being pregnant. To Yun Jian, since the child was born, it had the right to be born into this world. It was not easy to be a human, but parents who did not even give their child a chance to be a human were not worthy of being parents for the rest of their lives. Dr. Jiang stroked her forehead, her face full of shock. The couple opposite her also suddenly showed a look of shock. To be honest, Yun Jian and C.E.'s reactions were very different from normal university students. She was actually going to give birth to it. One had to know that the financial resources of college students were basically from their parents. Those who were a little more independent would at most go out and do some idle jobs to earn some extra money. However, giving birth to a child and raising the child was a very expensive matter. How could it be so simple? Young people, Annie is just reminding you. It's not easy to raise children these days. You're still young. It's not easy to raise children. Not only do children need to be cared for, but they also need financial support. You're still young. Is it true? Do you plan to have this child? Previously, Dr. Jiang had never been nice to the college students who came to get an abortion. But now, she changed her fierce expression and spoke to Yun Jian in a gentle voice. Regardless of whether the child could be born or not, Dr. Jiang admired Yun Jian and C.E.'s performance. However, admiration was one thing, but one had to be realistic. Originally, Dr. Jiang and the couple thought that the biggest problem for Yun Jian and C.E. to have a child was money. Without money, how could they raise the child? However, the moment Dr. Jiang finished speaking, C.E. suddenly spoke. His handsome smile did not move, but he was unwavering. Prescribe medicine for the fetus. You can name a price. As long as she and the child are healthy, I'll pay any price. A. Chapter 2030. He would pay however much it cost. Was this man a rich second-generation heir? Was he that rich? What Dr. Jiang said just now revolved around one main theme. She thought that Yun Jian and C.E. were both university students and were raising children at such a young age. Of course, it was fine to have children at such a young age. However, students at Yun Jian and C.E.'s age were still children in university. Normal university students relied on their parents for their daily expenses. Other than earning some extra money, they had no other income. The most important thing in raising a child was money. Money for milk powder, clothes, baby products, and so on. Which one of these did not require money? Raising a child from a young age was not only costly, but also physically and mentally exhausting. Of course, money was the most important thing. Dr. Jiang was not superficial. This was the truth. Without money, one could not do anything, much less raise a child into adulthood. In spite of it, CE's words shocked Dr. Jiang and the couple sitting opposite her. As long as Yun Jian and the child's health could be guaranteed, he would pay however much it was. On second thought, if CE was a rich second-generation heir and had a rich father, it would not be so rare for his girlfriend to get pregnant and give birth to a child. Perhaps the rich second-generation heir only wanted a girl to give birth to a child and did not want to marry the girl into his family. Dr. Jiang shook her head and stopped thinking about it. She wrote down some pregnancy-stabilizing medicine for Yun Jian in her notebook. In 2002, doctors and hospitals were not as high-tech as they were now when prescribing medicine. Now, they only needed to enter the prescription into the computer and swipe their medical card. In this era, doctors would write down the prescription in the hospital's notebook and let the patient pay at the cashier to get the medicine. After Dr. Jiang was done prescribing the medicine, she carefully reminded CE of some things that pregnant women should pay attention to before handing the notebook to CE. Remember not to have sexual intercourse in the first 3 months of pregnancy, or it might lead to a miscarriage. Don't do it too frequently after 4 months. CE remembered every word that Dr. Jiang said clearly. This was related to his Xiao Jian and his child's health. So, of course, he had to listen carefully. CE and Yun Jian listened carefully and began to look forward to the arrival of their child. A paramedic rushed in. The medical staff rushed into Dr. Jiang's outpatient room. The person held a stack of data sheets in his hand and shouted at Dr. Jiang in shock. Dr. Jiang, there's been a mistake. I made a mistake just now. The female university student named Yun Jian was not pregnant. He must have mixed it up with the data of another female university student. The pregnant one is another female university student. Both Yun Jian and CE's eyes glinted with a deep glint. Not pregnant? What's going on? Dr. Jiang was also surprised. Then, Dr. Jiang stood up and asked. 15 minutes later, Dr. Jiang bowed deeply to Yun Jian and CE and apologized. She said that the ultrasound machine had mixed up the data of a college girl not long ago. The one who was pregnant was not Yun Jian, but the other university student. Yun Jian was slightly disappointed when she heard the news, but she breathed a sigh of relief. After all, it was too sudden for her to be a mother. Welcoming the child when she was prepared was the wisest choice. CE frowned and looked at Dr. Jiang from the side, repeating, not pregnant? Yes, your girlfriend isn't pregnant. Dr. Jiang nodded. Initially, she thought that CE was genuinely nice to Yun Jian, which was why he asked for Yun Jian to give birth to his child. However, looking at CE's current expression, Dr. Jiang felt like he was about to kill someone. Could it be that he was a rich second-generation heir who wanted his girlfriend to give birth to his child? Was he going to flip out now that he knew that his girlfriend was not pregnant? Dr. Jiang sighed. This girl named Yun Jian would probably fall out of favor with this man in the future. Just as Dr. Jiang thought so, CE pulled Yun Jian into his arms and pressed her head against his chest. In front of Dr. Jiang and the paramedic just now, he told Yun Jian gently, Xiao Jian, whether you're pregnant or not, I'll protect you with my life. Hey. Chapter 2031. CE's words were heartwarming. Yun Jian's disappointment was enveloped by warmth when she heard it. Honestly, it was impossible for CE not to be disappointed. Thinking about it, however, his Xiao Jian was still young. If he really made her pregnant so early, he would be robbing her of her youth. Moreover, early pregnancy was bad for a woman's health. Once he thought about it, he felt relieved. Do not ask how CE knew that early pregnancy was bad for a woman's health. Dr. Zhang's consultation room was a gynecology consultation room. There were posters on the wall beside Dr. Jiang about pregnancy. Early pregnancy was bad for a woman and her baby's development. Of course, if she accidentally got pregnant, abortion would be even more harmful to her health. See, you would never let Yunjian do that. Now that she was not pregnant, she could only say that she was a little disappointed. Hearing Si's words, Yunjian was touched. She grabbed Dr. Zhang's large palm in front of her and nodded. No matter what happened, she would go through thick and thin with him. Dr. Zhang had seen many couples, but she had never seen one like Yunjian and Ce. Knowing that they were pregnant, both of them were determined to keep the baby. Both of them were university students, so the man did not urge the woman to have an abortion. On the contrary, when Ce found out that Yunjian was pregnant, he carried her in carefully with joy on his face. Later, when he found out that Yunjian was not pregnant, Ce said what he did. He said that he would protect her with his life. These words were not grand and vigorous, nor were they exaggerated. Instead, they were very ordinary and simple, yet they were able to warm one's heart. It was Dr. Zhang's first time witnessing such sincere love. She was truly stunned. Before Yunjian and Ce left the clinic, they accidentally caught a glimpse of the name of the girl who was really pregnant. Yunjian was not unfamiliar with the girl's name. It was Emolianhua. After leaving the hospital in shock, Ce saw that Yunjian was also hungry, so she dragged Yunjian to a nearby restaurant for a meal. For the next 2 days, Yunjian took 2 days off. She stayed with Ce for 2 days and went sightseeing near the university town. They lived like a normal couple. Of course, Ce did not neglect what he was supposed to do. However, during this period, Ce had taken sufficient precautions. It was better to wait for both of them to get used to it, and for his Xiao Jian to grow up before having children. 2 days later, Ce returned to Anhun as scheduled. Yunjian, who had taken 2 days off, also returned to school. Her period, which had not come for more than a month, came to visit Yunjian as scheduled. At that moment, Yunjian realized that her belly had shrunk again. Thinking back carefully, before Gunyinji dragged her to try on clothes that day, they had eaten an entire street. He ate until his stomach was about to burst. There was a reason why her belly had grown so big. In the dorm, her roommate, Miao Li, was holding an invitation and passing it to Yunjian, who had not returned to the dorm for 2 days. "This is for you. It's an invitation to the black market party tomorrow night. It's from someone in Rivertown's underground black market. Many girls and boys in our school have been invited to attend. It's said that we can see underground racing, boxing, and a series of things that we usually don't get to see tomorrow night. Most of the people in school are attending. You should go too." Ever since they found out that Yunjian was studying in the military school, other than Zhu Huili, her other 2 roommates, Miao Li and Shi Xiujuan, were much friendlier to Yunjian. "Yunjian, let's go together. Most of the students in school are attending. It's said to be a big event. You can see a lot of things." Zhu Huili was washing her feet when she saw Miao Li passing the invitation to Yunjian, so she spoke up quickly. Rivertown's underground black market was also a gang? Yunjian narrowed her eyes. Coincidentally, she was going to set up a trap in Rivertown 2 months later to eradicate Reverse Emperor. If she could rope in the forces of Rivertown's underground gangs, it would definitely be beneficial. Yunjian accepted the invitation from Miao Li and nodded at Zhu Huili. MMA. He was the one who had refuted Yunjian in the VIP room of the bar last time. He had scorned Yunjian for being as good as her school's computer teacher. His name is Zhou Zheng. Zhou Zheng was ugly, but he liked to talk dirty and often showed off in front of the girls. Now that there were so many girls standing around at such a big event, he looked for an opportunity to find a topic to talk about. "Oh my God, the leader of the gang in Jiangsheng is the father of the most handsome boy in Dongfang University. Is it true?" "Zhou Zheng, don't talk nonsense." The girls didn't know Song Yu's identity, so they all screamed exaggeratedly. They were even more interested in Zhou Zheng's question. "Hey, it's normal that you don't know. My good brother Song Yu is so low-key. He is indeed the son of the underground gang leader that you invited today, the future successor." Zhou Zheng started to boast again. His words attracted the screams of the girls around him. In fact, Zhou Zheng and Song Yu weren't very familiar with each other. They were just friends and brothers. If you have any questions, just ask. Zhou Zheng said exaggeratedly. Although Zhou Zheng was ugly, the girls liked to hear him brag. Hence, they all rushed forward to ask. Just as Zhou Zheng was surrounded by the girls, Yun Jian looked ahead and asked Mo Bufan, "Is the number one gang in Jiangxing City the Fortune Wolf Gang?" After hearing Yun Jian's words, Mo Bufan nodded. Yes. Hearing this, Yun Jian's lips curled into a red arc. Puffed. You went to university in Jiangxing City. Haven't you heard of this? Zhou Zheng, who had been joking around with the girls, turned to look at Yun Jian and sneered. Zhou Zheng was already unhappy with Yun Jian's domineering attitude. Now that he had the opportunity to say this, he quickly spoke up. What he got in return was Yun Jian's disregard. Zhou Zheng was very unhappy about this. Look, that's Song Yu, the most handsome boy in school. At this moment, a girl's voice was heard. Everyone turned to look at him. They saw Song Yu standing next to a masculine middle-aged man in his 40s or 50s. He was surrounded by a group of bodyguards, and they were walking towards them. That must be the boss of the Fortune Wolf Gang. Oh my God, Song Yu is so handsome. He's so low-key. He even hid his identity as the eldest son of the Fortune Wolf Gang's boss. There were a few more screams and cheers. At this moment, Song Yu walked towards Yun Jian and the others while the girls screamed. Song Yu was a little proud when he brought his father to Yun Jian and the others, especially when Yun Jian looked sideways at her father, the boss of the number one gang in Jiangxing City, Song Fan. She must be thinking that her father was the boss of the number one gang in Jiangxing City. Then, she must be stunned. As soon as Song Yu thought of this, he raised his head proudly. However, before Song Yu could raise his head, Yun Jian looked at Song Fan, the boss of the Fortune Wolf Gang. Her aura was not inferior to Song Fan's at all. She curled her lips and spoke directly to Song Fan in the tone of the boss of the number one gang in Zhe Province. Are you Song Fan, the boss of the number one gang in Jiangxing City, the Fortune Wolf Gang? A. Chapter 2033. Are you Song Fan, the leader of the Fortune Wolf Gang, the number one gang in Jiangxing City? Yun Jian's question stunned everyone present, especially Song Yu. Song Yu originally thought that Yun Jian would be shocked by his identity when she saw that his father was the leader of the number one gang in Jiangxing City. However, Song Yu thought too much. Not only was Yun Jian not surprised by Song Yu's identity as the son of the leader of the number one gang in Jiangxing City, but everyone present was shocked. Yun Jian actually dared to speak to Song Fan, the leader of the number one gang in Jiangxing City, in such a tone? Did she not know what kind of person she was talking to? Song Fan. He was a famous figure in the underworld. In Zhe Province, Song Fan's existence was not to be said to be feared, but at least when it was mentioned, it was a figure that frightened people. And Song Yu had always been proud of his father. Song Yu had never announced his identity as the son of the leader of the Fortune Wolf Gang. Today, Song Yu went all out. Song Yu was even more certain of one thing, because he saw Yun Jian order Dai, Annie, and the other two to deal with a dozen or so killers at the pavilion last time. Yun Jian and he were the most compatible people in the world. There was no one else. It was because Yun Jian was living in such a bloody environment. Was it not the same for him? Father, this is the girl I mentioned to you before. Her name is Yun Jian. She's the girl I mentioned to you before, the girl with the same background as our family. Song Yu had already mentioned Yun Jian's every move in the pavilion to his father, Song Fan. Song Yu also said that only such a girl was worthy of him with a noble status. When Song Fan heard Yun Jian's question, he was stunned for a moment. For a moment, he had an illusion that he saw the behavior and tone of Luo Sha, the leader of the number one gang in Zhe Province, in Yun Jian. Of course, Song Fan had never seen the true face of Luo Sha, the leader of the number one gang in Zhe Province. Song Fan had heard every word and action of Luo Sha in the past. Song Fan was only the leader of the number one gang in Jiang City. In the entire Zhe Province, Song Fan's status was not enough to meet Rakshasa. But on second thought, the girl in front of her was only her son's friend. She was also a girl that her son was rarely interested in, a girl that he truly wanted to become his future partner. How could it be the famous and ruthless Rakshasa who had become the leader of the #1 sect in Ja province in the shortest amount of time 2 years ago? How was this possible? After thinking about it, he knew that this kind of thing was impossible, so Song Fan shook his head. After knowing that Yun Jian was his son's sweetheart, Song Fan gave face to Yun Jian and replied to her in public. Yes, he was Song Fan, the leader of the Fortune Wolf Gang, the #1 gang in Jiangxing City. Song Fan had an aura that many people didn't have. It was different from his son Song Yu's sloppy appearance. Song Fan's aura was what a gang leader should have. Yun Jian narrowed her eyes and immediately had a good impression of Song Fan. The good impression here referred to the feeling of disgust and friendliness toward the person. As for Song Fan's son Song Yu, she tended to dislike him. But Song Fan's aura and behavior were worthy of Yun Jian's admiration. Are you crazy? How dare you talk to the leader of the Fortune Wolf Gang in such a tone? Do you want to die? At that moment, Zhou Zheng, who had been trembling and frightened by Yun Jian's tone to Song Fan, cursed at Yun Jian in a very soft but angry voice. The students standing around were so scared that their faces changed when they knew who Yun Jian was talking to. Yun Jian was crazy. How dare she talk to a gangster in such a tone? And Song Fan was the leader of the #1 gang in Jiang City. However, just when everyone thought that Yun Jian was courting death, Yun Jian cast a sidelong glance at Song Fan. In front of so many people, she said something that made them feel that she was courting death and wondered what she was going to do. Leader of the Fortune Wolf Gang in Jiangxing, in 2 months, lend me your brothers. Hey. Chapter 2034. Yun Jian. What on earth was she trying to do? Everyone present was stunned by Yun Jian's words. Song Yu was also stunned. Why did she want to borrow his father's gang members? Usually, when 2 gangs were having a dispute, the leader of one gang would ask for help from the other gang's leader. Was she going to borrow people to fight with many people? She wasn't the gang leader, so why did she need so many people? Song Fan was also slightly stunned. As the leader of the #1 gang in Jiangxing City, Song Fan's thinking was naturally different from his son Song Yu's. Song Fan was the mature and steady type. In fact, this wasn't the first time Song Fan had seen his son Song Yu take a liking to a girl and introduce her to him. But those girls all had a common characteristic: to please him. Yun Jian was completely different. Which girl didn't please and flatter the leader of the #1 gang in Jiangxing City like the other girls when she saw him? Instead, she wanted to borrow his gang members. Why was this? Song Yu asked what Song Fan wanted to ask. Yun Jian, why do you want to borrow my father's gang members? What can she do? Isn't it just to show off? Wasn't she like this in the big private room of the bar? She thought she was very powerful and amazing. She even showed off her computer skills in front of us. The person who spoke was Lan Yi, who had shouted at Yun Jian when she first met Matthew in Jiangxing City. Then, she had spoken rudely in the big private room of the bar. Despite Yun Jian's stunning hacking skills and extraordinary capabilities, she was still a nobody. But what was the use of that? Without a backer, what was she? Song Yu, the father of the most handsome guy in Jiangxing City, was the leader of the #1 gang in Jiangxing City. No matter how powerful Yun Jian was, even if Yun Jian was an assassin or a secret agent, she was outnumbered. Moreover, she wasn't. Lan Yi's words immediately resonated with the girls present. Many girls did not like Yun Jian because she had not only attracted the attention of Brother Kai, Imo Bufan, Su Jinglong, and Wei Jingxian from River City University of Electronic Technology, but she had also attracted a lot of attention. Now, even the attention of Dongfang University's most handsome boy, Song Yu, was on Yun Jian. Without a doubt, this pushed Yun Jian to the peak of the girls' envy and jealousy. Why aren't Lianhua and Panxian here yet? I feel that Lianhua is the most compatible person with Mr. Song. Exactly. Yun Jian can do anything, but she has to show off in front of boys. Attract the attention of the boys. Does she lack men that much? The surrounding girls began to whisper to each other. Yun Jian naturally heard it, but she didn't care. Just as the girls were secretly chatting, Song Fan's voice sounded. As long as you can give me a convincing reason, my brothers from the Kailang gang can be lent to you. Song Fan was indeed courageous. He didn't reject her outright, but instead said this to Yun Jian. However, just as Song Fan finished speaking, Song Yu added, Yun Jian, as long as you agree to be my girlfriend and break up with your boyfriend, the Kailang gang will be at your disposal. You will be the future wife of the Kailang gang's head. As soon as Song Yu said this, the group of girls around him exclaimed, Did they hear it wrong? Song Yu actually confessed to Yun Jian, and it was such an affectionate confession. So, do you agree? Song Yu asked cautiously. I agree. At this moment, the surrounding girls wanted to answer Song Yu for Yun Jian. Song Yu was in a relationship with Yun Jian as his wife. One had to know that Song Yu's girlfriends had always been for fun. But now, Song Yu, as his wife, was asking Yun Jian to be his girlfriend? Just when the girls were envious and thought that Yun Jian would agree to Song Yu's request, Yun Jian's cold voice mixed with the flow of the air. She said arrogantly to Song Yu and Song Fan, which stunned everyone present. I'm here today to tell you that I'm going to borrow the Kailang gang's people, not to ask for permission. If you don't want to lend them to me, then you can wait to be removed from your province. Hey. Chapter 2035. Yun Jian was not joking. Su Zetian was now managing Falcon Hall for her. Falcon Hall's ability was now so powerful that it could annihilate any mafia group effortlessly. This was the result of Su Zetian's hard work for the past 2 years. Back then, Su Zetian thought that he could only be the boss of Longmen City for the rest of his life. Now that he was the top mafia group in Jia province, he was more motivated than ever. Returning to reality and hearing Yun Jian's words, Song Yu, Song Fan, Emo Buffon, and the rest of the martial arts club, including Brother Kai and the rest, were stunned. Would the Fortune Wolf gang wait to be removed from Jia province if they did not agree to her request? This was the Fortune Wolf gang. How dare Yun Jian say something like that? Did she really think that she was some kind of powerful figure? Everyone thought that Yun Jian had lost her mind. If she wasn't crazy, how could she have said such words that could possibly lead to a fatal disaster? Even Mo Buffon was slightly worried about Yun Jian, so he spoke up. Yun Jian, don't spout nonsense like that. Mo Buffon said that out of goodwill. After all, the truth was right there. No matter how outstanding Yun Jian's ability was, she was only one person after all. On the other hand, the boss of Jiang City's top mafia group, Song Fan, had a large group of people behind him. It was easy to tell who had the upper hand with just a glance. Just when the atmosphere was at its most tense and everyone thought that Song Fan would explode in the next second, a brisk and loud middle-aged man's voice rang throughout the place. Ha ha ha. Good temper. Young lady, I like your temper. Everyone saw Song Fan, who was standing in front of Yun Jian and beside Song Yu, guffawing before looking at Yun Jian with admiration. Not only was Song Fan not enraged by Yun Jian's words, his impression of Yun Jian had improved instead. Everyone's jaws dropped in shock. Young lady, I'll see you after tonight's gathering. Now that my old friends are here, I have to go entertain them. Don't leave first. Song Fan's eyes flashed as he said to Yun Jian. Yun Jian's red arc arched again at the sight of it. Song Fan was indeed different from Song Yu. He was a smart person. See you after the party, Yun Jian said in front of everyone after Song Fan gave her a hint. After that, Song Fan was escorted by his dozen or so bodyguards as he walked towards the group of important figures in the distance. This group of people were all dressed in upper-class clothes. Some of them were Song Fan's partners, while others were Song Fan's old friends. No one saw the glint in Song Fan's eyes before he left. If outsiders did not know the meaning behind Yun Jian's arrogant tone, Song Fan had already guessed Yun Jian's identity. As she watched Song Fan leave, the red arc on Yun Jian's face disappeared. That's it. Nothing happened at all. The surrounding people were bewildered. No one could tell what had happened just now. Only Yun Jian and Song Fan knew what had happened. Yun Jian, do you know what you were doing just now? You're too shameless. You're shameless to the extent that the whole world will be ashamed of you. When Lan Yi saw that the important figure Song Fan had walked away, she was left alone with a group of university students. Thus, she glared fiercely at Yun Jian and said loudly, "Thank you for the compliment. Same to you." Yun Jian did not evade Lan Yi's words. "Thank you for the compliment. Same to you?" What she meant was that if she was shameless, then Lan Yi would be exactly the same as her. Lan Yi did not immediately realize that Yun Jian was scolding her in a roundabout way. "All right, I'll take you to the place where we play. There's a place for us to play. There are guns, balloons, arrows, darts, and so on. There's also a stall with food and drinks. If you win, you can even win prizes. Hey." Chapter 2036. Song Yu suggested when he saw that Song Fan had gone far away. That night, even though Song Fan had sent out the invitation in the name of the #1 sect in Rivertown, the banquet was held halfway up the mountain. That was because they knew that many important people would come over that night. Furthermore, it was a gathering at night, so it was different from a normal ball venue. It was very big and there was a lot of traffic. There were at least tens of thousands of people gathered here tonight. Therefore, Song Fan naturally couldn't provide all the food and desserts. In addition, although Song Fan's Fortune Wolf Gang sounded scary, they had never hurt ordinary people. Therefore, there were a lot of street food stalls or game vendors who played balloons, archery, and darts as if they were going to market. There were barbecue, fried snacks, noodles, and so on. There were also games that children liked to play, such as balloons, archery, and darts. If it wasn't for Song Fan's invitation, this place would have been bustling with noise and excitement, turning it into a night market for people to go to. In addition, the lights illuminated the surroundings as bright as day. If it weren't for the surrounding mountains, people would believe it even if someone said that it was a foot of a bustling city. As soon as Song Yu finished speaking, everyone present nodded. "You guys go. I won't go." Yin Jian turned her head and said to Zhu Huili, Mo Bufan, and other members of the martial arts club. Song Yu's words obviously aroused the interest of Zhu Huili, Mo Bufan, and others. Even if the people present were no longer elementary, middle, or high school students, they were still very interested in this kind of game. "You won't go. How could that be?" Song Yu muttered the last sentence in his heart. How could Yin Jian not go? If she didn't go, how could he carry out the next step of his plan? Just now, when he brought his father, Song Fan, to Yun Jian, Song Yu thought that Yun Jian would change her opinion of him after knowing that his father was Song Fan. However, Song Yu never expected that Yun Jian would have such an attitude. Fortunately, he had a next step of his plan. Song Yu quickly winked at Miao Li, who had been standing at the side without saying anything. He wanted Miao Li to think of a solution. Seeing this, Miao Li hurried over to Zhu Huili, held Zhu Huili's chubby hand, and said to Yun Jian, "Yun Jian, let's go together. Let's all join the fun. Isn't that right, Huili? You also want Yun Jian to go with you, right?" Zhu Huili wasn't used to Miao Li suddenly calling out to her in such a gentle tone. She nodded blankly and said, Yes. Yun Jian, let's go together. You're quite lonely here. It'll be more lively if we go together." Yun Jian saw how Song Yu winked at Miao Li just now. Hearing Zhu Huili's words, Yun Jian agreed. She wanted to see what Song Yu was going to do. The group soon arrived at the place where they were having fun. Song Yu blinked his eyes. He deliberately sent Mo Lianhua, Pan Xian, and the others away today just for this moment. Clap, clap. Song Yu suddenly clapped his hands after he brought everyone to the place. After a while, a group of people dressed as members of the Fortune Wolf Gang came out from all directions. This group of people held many roses in their hands. After a while, they used the roses to make a heart shape on the ground. There were a total of 99 roses, not one less. Oh my God, it's so romantic. Oh my God, Hung Song is too romantic. I'm so fascinated. Seeing this scene, the girls standing around all cried out in alarm. What the girls yearned for was nothing more than a romantic confession. At this time, Song Yu had already walked to the heart shape of the 99 roses in front of Mo Bufan, the martial arts club, Brother Kai, Miao Li, and Shi Xiujuan. He reached out to Yun Jian from 5 meters away, looked at her affectionately, and said, 99 roses represent my heart. Yunjian, I love you. Be my girlfriend. I'll protect you forever and won't let you get hurt. Hey. Chapter 2037. Song Yu reached out his hand to Yunjian, waiting for Yunjian's reply. Song Yu stood in the love circle of 99 roses, waiting for Yunjian to walk towards him. Normal boys would kneel down on one knee when proposing. However, Song Yu disliked kneeling on one knee, afraid that it would dirty his knee. Song Yu thought that he had already arranged 99 roses in the love circle. This kind of sincerity was something that he used to disdain. In the past, whenever he wanted a girl, that girl would obediently walk into his arms. Hence, he was determined to have Yunjian today. Be together. Be together. Be together. At this time, someone shouted, and the surrounding people followed suit. Even the girls who usually didn't get along with Yunjian shouted. Not only the surrounding students, but even the passers-by who saw this scene stopped, clapped their hands, and shouted. The atmosphere reached its climax in an instant. Under the uproar of the surrounding girls, Song Yu saw that Yunjian wasn't walking towards him as he expected. He lowered his eyes, pulled a smile, and looked at Yunjian as he continued his emotional speech. Yunjian, maybe you don't know me well enough, but I'll let you know me. You said that we're not from the same world. Today, I'll confess my identity to everyone, to you. I'm not an ordinary person. I'm the son of the Fortune Wolf Gang's leader. Like you, we're from the bloody world. That's why we're a match made in heaven. I swear, from today onwards, loving you is my life's mission. Please be my girlfriend. Song Yu had so many girlfriends, and this wasn't the first time he said such emotional words. When the surrounding girls heard Song Yu's emotional speech, they were so touched that they wished they could become Yunjian and accept Song Yu's love. Hearing Song Yu's words, Yunjian only wanted to sneer. Suddenly, she caught a glimpse of a girl not far away. She immediately narrowed her eyes and coldly looked at Song Yu. Are you sure we're from the same world? I'm sure. I love you. I've never given my heart to any girl before. Only you are worthy of my heart, Song Yu said without hesitation. However, before Song Yu could finish his emotional speech, Yunjian caught a glimpse of the girl's figure behind Song Yu. Slap! The girl slapped Song Yu in the face. The girl was none other than Mo Lianhua. At this moment, Mo Lianhua looked at Song Yu in disbelief, as if she had been betrayed. You, I really misjudged you. I thought you were sincere to me. I didn't expect it to be you. Mo Lianhua looked sadly at Song Yu, who was standing in the love circle formed by 99 roses. As Mo Lianhua spoke, she turned her head and glared at Yunjian as if she wanted to kill Yunjian. She looked fierce as if Yunjian was a mistress. At this time, Mo Lianhua no longer pretended to be pure. She glared at Yunjian fiercely and shouted at Yunjian. You third party? Mistress, how can you be so shameless? Why don't you just die? Why don't you just die? Mo Lianhua still didn't know that she was pregnant. The person who accidentally made a mistake with Yunjian's pregnancy data sheet was Mo Lianhua. After hearing Mo Lianhua's words, Yunjian just snorted coldly and laughed. Sometimes, even if you don't look for trouble, people will still see that you are outstanding and bully you. Did Song Yu and Mo Lianhua really think of her as an ordinary university girl and a third party? Yunjian didn't remember anything happening between her and Song Yu. Boring. Yunjian spat out these words coldly and turned to leave. Yunjian. Song Yu still wanted to persuade her to stay. However, Yunjian had just taken 2 steps in that direction when she suddenly glanced to the left from the corner of her eye. She saw a long saber slashing towards Yunjian at the speed of light and lightning. That speed was definitely not something an ordinary person could possess. Even a high-level assassin was far inferior. Yunjian's eyes flashed sharply. In the next second, she directly put her hands together and pressed the long saber that was slashing towards her on both sides of her hands. At that time, the person holding the hilt had the absolute advantage. In spite of it, Yunjian's grip on the saber's blade was unscathed even when her opponent was trying to slash her with the saber. Because the person was too fast, the surrounding people didn't have time to react. This unforeseen event was faster than the speed of light. However, 3 seconds later, Yunjian had already snatched the long saber and kicked the person away. The person was kicked back 2 steps by Yunjian. If it was a normal person, they would have vomited blood from Yunjian's kick. Yunjian didn't show any mercy. Song Yu, Imo Lianhua, and the others around them were so frightened by this sudden change that their faces turned pale. The woman who had rushed up to assassinate Yunjian stopped in her tracks and reached out to pull at the black gloves on her hands. She smiled at Yunjian and said, "Tisk 006, it's been 2 years. I didn't expect you to still be so fast. But it doesn't matter. I'm here today to defeat you." The person who had come was none other than the leader of the Soul Eater organization. He was one of the 3 survivors of the Enhan organization with Yunjian and Mad Dragon in her previous life. At the same time, he was also determined to defeat Yunjian, Shunji, 006. Who was 006? Everyone present, led by Song Yu, was stunned and full of doubts. However, just as Song Yu, Imo Lianhua, Imo Bufan, and the others were stunned, Yunjian, who was standing in front of everyone, revealed a terrifying smile that no one had ever seen before. Then, in front of everyone, she threw the long knife back to Shunji. After Shunji caught it, she very calmly took out the 2 butterfly knives and held them in both hands. She calmly curled her lips and said, "Let's do this." 095. This is the 609th time you've tried to assassinate me. I'll satisfy your request and fight you. However, I'll still say the same thing. In an Hun organization, you were my match. 2 years ago, you were my match. The current you is still my defeated opponent. Hey. Chapter 2038. 2 years ago, Yunjian had been kidnapped by an assassin organization. In the end, they found out that the organization called the Soul Eater was Shunji's, and Yunjian had accepted Shunji's challenge. Judging from Yunjian's tone, she seemed to know the woman who'd charged at Yunjian with a long knife. And 006? What kind of name was 095? Why did it sound like a serial number for someone in a certain troop? What were they talking about? Or did they know each other before? What are you talking about? What 006? What 095? Can you still defeat me? You've assassinated me more than 600 times. Yunjian, I'm telling you, you is mine. You can't take him away. You're always seducing men with that foxy face of yours. Don't think I'm afraid of you. Yu's father is the boss of the Fortune Wolf gang. If you have any self-awareness, get the hell away from me. Otherwise, I don't care who you are. I'll kill you. Imo Lianhua's head was filled with hatred. She looked at Yunjian, then at Shunji. She spoke with a face full of loathing and disgust. Song Yu was hers. His was hers. No one could take him away. Yunjian held 2 shiny butterfly knives in her hands and looked at Shunji. She ignored Imo Lianhua, who was yelling at her like a madwoman. Back then, Shunji had indeed asked her for the address. She had even said that she would definitely come back and defeat her. When that long knife had suddenly appeared and slashed at her, Yunjian had already guessed that it was Shunji, because only Shunji could use such a fast and agile long knife. Yunjian and Shunji were both good at knives, but the difference was that Yunjian was good at butterfly knives, while Shunji was good at long knives. If you want to know why, you'd have to go back to Enhan. Back then, Yunjian and Shunji had been trapped together with all the children who'd been captured by Enhan. In the 3rd year, the higher-ups had the children kill each other. The rules of the game were to kill everyone until only 3 people were left. Only 3 of them survived. The night before the massacre, the children were allowed to choose their own weapons. Many children chose long-range weapons like guns and ammunition because long-range weapons like guns and ammunition gave people a feeling of safety. Yunjian and Shunji were the only ones who chose a butterfly knife and a saber. At that time, Mad Dragon had yet to join Enhan. That battle was Yunjian and Shunji's first battle in Enhan. Nearly 100 children had slaughtered each other. In the end, only 3 had survived. All the children who chose long-range weapons like guns were killed by Yunjian and Shunji. Only Yun Jian, Shun Ji, and another child survived. After the rest of the children died, an Han organization recruited a new batch of people, and one of them was Mad Dragon. The Triennial Massacre was the unchanging rule of the Han organization. As long as they were in Han's assassin training camp, they would have to participate in a battle every 3 years. Only 3 people could survive this battle. Yun Jian and Shun Ji were the survivors of the first massacre. After that, an Han organization would continue to train the newly recruited children. 3 years later, these children would be allowed to fight against the 3 survivors. In this cycle, Yun Jian, Shun Ji, and Mad Dragon had all climbed out of a pile of corpses. It wasn't an exaggeration at all. As for the butterfly knife, it stayed with Yun Jian and stayed with her until the end. Shun Ji had always used a long knife. This had never changed. Back in reality, Yun Jian had known Shun Ji since she was 5. She had always seen Shun Ji as a rival. When she saw the long knife, she had guessed who it was. Lianhua, don't be so ungrateful. Song Yu, who had been slapped by Lianhua, pushed Lianhua in front of everyone and roared. After shouting, Song Yu hurriedly stood in front of Yun Jian and stopped Shun Ji. He said to Yun Jian, I told you that we're from the same world. Don't be afraid. I'll definitely protect you. As soon as Song Yu finished speaking, Shun Ji laughed. Protect her? Do you know who 006 is? You? And you want to protect her? Shun Ji almost choked from laughing. This was probably the funniest joke she had ever heard in her life. Chapter 2039. Shun Ji, who had planned on fighting Yun Jian again, crossed her arms and loosely placed her sword next to her arm. She looked at Song Yu with disdain and continued to laugh. Kid, do you think 006 is from the same world as you? That's the funniest joke I've ever heard in my life. Do you know who 006 is? The number of people she's killed is more than the number of arrogant words you've said in your entire life. Who do you think you are? If this was in the past, 006 would have killed you in one blow. From the same world? Don't be so funny. Do you know that back then, dozens of high-level assassins with guns and bombs faced 006 alone? 006 didn't even have a sword, but in a few minutes, she took their guns and killed everyone. She was only 14 years old. Do you know that when she faced a powerful assassin organization, not only did she not get killed, she even wiped out that famous assassin organization? Don't talk about a gang leader like you. Do you know that international black market tycoons aren't even worthy of carrying her shoes? Although she and I are mortal enemies, I, Shun Ji, will only submit to 006 in my life. Putting aside everything else, she is 006, and she is the goal I have been pursuing all my life. Wherever 006 is, that's where the international tycoons, businessmen, and politicians won't dare to sleep. That's right. Shun Ji was in awe of Yun Jian from the bottom of her heart. But at the same time, Shun Ji was very strong. She refused to admit defeat. Even if it was 1,000 times, 10,000 times, she would still refuse to admit defeat to Yun Jian. Song Yu, Lianhua, Buffon, Brother Kai, and everyone else were shocked by Shun Ji's words. Yun Jian was actually such a terrifying person. Who was she? But before anyone could react, Shun Ji had already walked in front of Yun Jian and kicked away Song Yu, who was 1 meter away from Yun Jian. Then, Shun Ji met Yun Jian's eyes in front of everyone. Shun Ji, who had just been speaking up for Yun Jian, suddenly changed her expression. She laughed loudly and provoked Yun Jian. However, the stronger you are, the more I, Shun Ji, want to defeat you. My only goal in this life is to surpass you. Shun Ji's words sounded like a provocation, but also like a blood oath. Hearing Shun Ji's words, the others thought that Yun Jian was probably displeased that Shun Ji said something like that as well. But just as everyone thought so, they saw Yun Jian's lips curl into a red arc as she replied to Shun Ji in front of everyone. I'll give you 10 moves to repay your kindness. Last time, when a mysterious man had been collecting puppets, Yun Jian had asked Shun Ji to stop training puppets for the mysterious man. Shinji had given her face. This debt of gratitude was repaid today. Haha, then I won't hold back. Shinji, who had been speaking up for Yoon Jian a second ago, now looked like he was dealing with an enemy. He mercilessly swung his sword at Yoon Jian. The surrounding passers-by, as well as all the university students who were invited here, were so scared that they retreated to the corner. Although they didn't leave and waited to watch the show, they were still scared witless. Yoon Jian, Song Yu wanted to go help Yoon Jian, but when someone pulled him back to the corner, he pretended to be worried about Yoon Jian, but he didn't break free. Both Yoon Jian and this woman who called herself Shinji had swords in their hands. But the second before he swung his sword, he heard Shinji look at Yoon Jian. Then, in front of everyone, he sneered at the cowering Song Yu. TSK coward. Kid, 006, isn't someone a piece of trash like you can covet. You, and you're from two completely different worlds. Even if you're the son of an international arms tycoon, you're dreaming if you want to be in the same world as 006. Go to hell. Hey. Chapter 2040. After Shinji taunted Song Yu in front of everyone, he turned to look at Yoon Jian and said faintly, "You're right. TSK, I didn't think you'd be bothered by trash like this after a few years. 006, based on your personality, it's a miracle that this guy is still alive." After Shinji had slashed at Yoon Jian in front of everyone, Yoon Jian hadn't fought back. She'd only dodged to the side. Shinji hadn't been in a hurry to attack and had started talking. Hearing Shinji's words, everyone's faces froze. Even if they were dumb, they knew that the person 006 was referring to must be Yoon Jian. Song Yu and Mo Lianhua, who hadn't dared to speak from the beginning, were shocked by Shinji's words. Especially Song Yu. Song Yu and Mo Lianhua didn't doubt Shinji's words at all. After all, Song Yu and Mo Lianhua had seen with their own eyes how Yoon Jian had killed 4 assassins at the pavilion and then ordered Die Annie and the other 2 to kill the dozen or so assassins. Now, a woman who called herself Shinji had appeared. What she said about Yoon Jian was almost exactly the same as what Yoon Jian had described back at the pavilion. Thus, when Song Yu and Mo Lianhua heard Shinji's words, their faces paled. Unexpectedly, Yoon Jian didn't directly respond to Shinji's words. She raised her eyebrows slightly and said softly, 9 more moves. Just now, Yoon Jian had let Shinji have 1 move. She'd said she'd let Shinji have 10 moves, not 1 less. TSK 006, you're still the same. You're so calculative about this kind of thing. Shinji squeezed the long knife in her hand and smiled. Of course I'm calculative with you. Yoon Jian returned Shinji's cold smile. Shinji tightened her grip on the long knife and suddenly walked to the side. I don't like being watched like a monkey. Let's go to an open space to fight. With that, Shinji left the crowd and walked to an open space halfway up the mountain. Seeing this, Yoon Jian put away her butterfly knife and followed Shinji. Let's go and cheer for Yoon Jian. Mo Buffon didn't understand the relationship between Yoon Jian and Shinji, nor did he understand what they were talking about. However, he called the others from the martial arts club and quickly followed. Zhu Huili naturally followed. Brother Kai led a group of people and followed of them. Let's go. Miao Li and Shi Xiujuan. Song Yu cast a sidelong glance at Mo Lianhua and wanted to chase after her. Of course I was wrong. Of course. I'm a mize. Please give me another chance. I beg you. Mo Lianhua grabbed Song Yu's hand and begged. The last time Mo Lianhua hid it from Song Yu, she had secretly torn the condom when they were having an affair. After Song Yu found out, he was so angry that he yelled at Mo Lianhua that he would break up with her if she got pregnant. Mo Lianhua went to the hospital for a checkup. Only then did she confidently tell Song Yu that she wasn't pregnant. She wanted Song Yu to give her another chance. But now that Song Yu had taken a liking to Yoon Jian, he didn't want to go back. He pushed Mo Lianhua away and ran in the direction that Yoon Jian had left. He didn't even look at Mo Lianhua. Mo Lianhua angrily chased after him. Gun Yinji, who was staying in the same hotel as Li Nong, didn't know that they were staying in the same hotel. That night, Yunjian wasn't there. Gun Yinji was bored and decided to walk around Jiang City. She wanted to walk around mainly because she was too hungry. She hadn't even had dinner yet. Therefore, when she came out of the hotel room, Gun Yinji skipped and ran quickly. When she passed by the corner of the hotel, Gun Yinji ran too fast and bumped into a wall of flesh. She hissed and rubbed her head. Just as she was about to raise her head and scold the person who had come over for being blind, Gun Yinji stopped. She saw Li Nong standing in front of her. Li Nong glanced at Gun Yinji from the corner of his eyes. He obviously knew that Gun Yinji was staying in this hotel. Then, the words that came out of Li Nong's mouth made Gun Yinji want to tear his mouth apart on the spot. However, he had a cold expression on his face. On the outside, he said to Gun Yinji, "What a coincidence. I was just about to look for you. The last time you sat on my lap, I felt very comfortable. Your butt is so springy and fleshy. I like it very much. Can you let me touch it again? Hey." Chapter 2041. Last time, Gun Yinji accidentally fell into Li Nong's arms and even threw him to the ground. She sat on his lap. The feeling of flesh was something Li Nong had never felt before. Therefore, when Gun Yinji didn't react or even notice, Li Nong reached out and held her buttocks with both hands. He touched them and felt the woman's flesh. Li Nong liked this touch very much, so he wandered around the hotel for a few days. Today, he finally saw Gun Yinji. As soon as he saw her, she rashly bumped into his arms again. Her fleshy chest and enchanting figure made Li Nong swallow a mouthful of saliva. Therefore, the well-dressed Li Nong couldn't help but say such words. "I like it very much. Can you let me touch it again?" In the past, Li Nong was on the same side as the gods on the God continent. However, Li Nong was talented and had a low status. Those gods never gave Li Nong face and didn't even want to talk to him. If Li Nong was talented and had a low status, those gods would probably rush to talk to Li Nong. After all, to them, standing together with a piece of trash could highlight their status and nobility. In the God continent, Li Nong was isolated, which meant that he didn't have much contact with the gods, let alone female gods. Li Nong didn't even know that it was common sense not to touch a woman's buttocks. However, Gun Yinji, who called herself a matchmaker in the Yulong continent, knew. What did you say?" Gun Yinji first hugged her chest with her hands, then suddenly realized that Li Nong wanted to touch her buttocks. She then put her hands under her waist to protect her buttocks. Then, she looked at Li Nong with a covetous expression, as if to say, "If you dare touch my buttocks, I will definitely teach you a lesson. Pervert, I'm telling you, if you dare touch a single hair on my head, I will never let you off." Gun Yinji protected her buttocks and shouted at Li Nong. Seeing Gun Yinji holding her buttocks, as if she was protecting her life, Li Nong frowned and asked, "Why? Why? Why are you still asking why? Are all the gods on the God continent so shameless?" Shameless. Gun Yinji's cheeks were red. She looked at Li Nong and shouted these words with a red face. As she spoke, Gun Yinji wanted to turn around and walk around to get out of the shameless Li Nong's field of vision. "Do you want to go to the divine continent?" Suddenly, Li Nong's magnetic male voice sounded from behind Gun Yinji. Gun Yinji didn't turn around because she was attracted by the pleasant and magnetic voice, but because she heard what Li Nong said. She suddenly stopped in her tracks, then stuck her head out and slowly turned her head back to look at him. Facts proved that Li Nong's words were very tempting. "Can you really take me to the divine continent?" Gun Yinji couldn't help swallowing when she heard this and asked again. "Yes." Li Nong nodded. One had to know that to the people of the myriad continents, going to the gods' continent was their lifelong wish. After all, to the people of the myriad continents, the gods' continent was a place limited to legends. If they were able to travel around the gods' continent, some of the people on the myriad continents would die without regrets. "Really? Are you telling the truth? Then bring me there quickly." Gun Yinji clasped her hands, which were covering her buttocks, and put them by her mouth. She pouted and looked at Li Nong with her little eyes blinking. Gun Yinji, who had just called herself sister, instantly turned into a little woman. "My condition just now. Li Nong mentioned it. Gu Nianji clenched her fists and waved them in a place where Li Nong couldn't see. Then she said weakly, "Then I can only do it once." Once. As soon as Gu Nianji agreed softly, Li Nong, eh? Chapter 2042. In order to go to Deity Continent, Gu Nianji had sold herself out. Of course, she was only selling herself out. It was just a touch. It was not like she would lose a piece of flesh. When she came back from visiting Deity Continent, she was going to beat this pervert to death. Sister Jian had actually taken in such a pervert as her disciple. At the same time, in the hotel hallway, Gu Nianji shut her eyes tightly as Li Nong wrapped his arms around her and placed his long hands on her. But, this pervert really dared to touch her, but Gu Nianji was as red as an apple. "Are you done?" Gu Nianji covered her face, not daring to look at Li Nong. If she opened her eyes now, she would be able to gaze at Li Nong's chest. Right now, Gu Nianji's face and Li Nong's chest were only separated by her hand. Gu Nianji's hand was pressed against Li Nong's chest. Li Nong's chest was facing Gu Nianji as he wrapped his arm around her waist and placed his hand on her, but just as Gu Nianji urged Li Nong to stop and even push him away to tell him that it was enough, Li Nong's hand on Gu Nianji's but grabbed. Gu Nianji cried out involuntarily. When she reacted, she pushed Li Nong away and looked at him in disbelief with a flushed face. "I already said it's only for a while. How could you?" "Very soft," Li Nong commented. Gu Nianji's face flushed again. "All right, hurry up and take me to Deity Continent," Gu Nianji said. "Not now." Li Nong tilted his head and turned his handsome side profile in front of Gu Nianji. You're going back on your word." Gu Nianji was still embarrassed. Li Nong turned his head and presented his handsome face to Gu Nianji. The next second, he didn't say anything. He walked over and grabbed Gu Nianji's hand. Not long after, he brought Gu Nianji back to her hotel room, the venue of the gathering where Jiang City's top gang had sent out invitations. Yun Jian and Shun Ji had just arrived at a spacious area. The people who had followed Yun Jian and Shun Ji also followed them here. Shun Ji had just arrived, and Yun Jian was still following. Suddenly, Shun Ji grabbed his sword and swung it at Yun Jian. When the agents fought, every move was fatal. As a special agent, what they learned was nothing more than how to kill a person in the fastest way possible. It didn't matter if it was an assassination or a dirty trick, as long as he could kill the other party, it was fine. He watched as Yun Jian and Shun Ji walked into the open space and started fighting before they even said anything. Everyone who came over to take a look was stunned. F***CK. He actually attacked without saying anything. Are these two women even human? His attack speed is so fast. He must have learned some martial arts. The surrounding boys broke out in a cold sweat as they watched Yun Jian and Shun Ji fight. At that moment, Yun Jian quickly gave Shun Ji 10 moves. The real battle between the two had only just begun. "What's going on?" Song Fan, who was walking over with his old friends, asked when he saw Yun Jian and Shun Ji fighting. "They said they're going to fight to see who wins," someone replied to Song Fan. As the leader of a gang in Jiangsheng, Song Fan couldn't help but observe Yun Jian and Shun Ji seriously. He watched as Yun Jian started to attack after defending for 10 moves. "Look at her. That girl's going to fight back. I heard she's the president of the martial arts club. Something interesting is about to happen. Haha." Someone couldn't help but get excited when he saw this. But just as everyone's excited voices died down, Yun Jian and Shun Ji's figures went from the initial quick exchange to the speed at which they exchanged moves so fast that they couldn't be seen with the naked eye. Seeing this scene, everyone's jaws dropped. Just as everyone's hearts tightened, Yun Jian had already used her butterfly knife to deflect Shun Ji's long sword. Shun Ji's long sword was flung dozens of meters away. Then, she moved sideways and circled behind Shun Ji. At the same time, Yun Jian's butterfly knife was pressed against Shun Ji's back, where his heart was. "You lost." Yun Jian's crisp voice echoed throughout the arena. Yun Jian and Shun Ji had only been fighting for a minute. When experts fought, every move was fatal. The stronger they were, the faster they exchanged moves. Even though it was only a minute, Yun Jian and Shun Ji had already exchanged hundreds of moves. Neither of them showed any mercy. Anyone who could exchange hundreds of moves with Yun Jian was undoubtedly the best in the world. 006, 2 years have passed. You're even stronger than before. Shun Ji chuckled with Yun Jian's butterfly knife pressed against his back. You've improved a lot too. Yun Jian sheathed her knife. If 2 years isn't enough, then 10 years. 006, I'll definitely surpass you. Shun Ji said as he walked towards his long sword. He planned to pick it up and leave. Yun Jian admired Shun Ji's unyielding spirit. She looked at Shun Ji's back and said in front of everyone, whether it's 10 years or 20 years, I'll be waiting. But as always, you'll always be my defeated opponent. Shun Ji snorted and bent down to pick up his sword. However, at that moment, a middle-aged man standing next to Song Fan suddenly pointed at Shun Ji's sword and said in a trembling voice, That sword. The mark on the sword. Song Fan, could it be that the woman your son is fighting with is Shura Shinji, number 2 on the assassin ranking? Legend has it that Shura Shinji has only ever taken one person as her opponent. That person is Slaying God, number 1 on the international secret agent ranking. That girl, could it be? Chapter 2043. Could that young lady be the legendary number 1 on the international secret agent ranking, the one who shakes the world with her name, Slaying God? The middle-aged man, standing next to Song Fan, spoke in a voice that everyone present could hear clearly. As soon as he finished speaking, everyone present was shocked. What? The number 1 on the international secret agent ranking? Mo Lianhua's eyes were wide open as she stared at Yun Jian in disbelief. She did not know what the number 1 on the international secret agent ranking signified. However, Mo Lianhua, Song Yu, Mo Bufan, and everyone else did not see wrongly. The middle-aged man standing next to Song Fan gulped when he heard the words Slaying God. Just the mention of that name was enough to make him tremble in fear. After he said the words Slaying God, he took 2 big steps back because he suspected that Yun Jian was that person. He hid himself in a corner before he dared to say the 2 words that sent chills down his spine. Uncle Zhang, what did you say? Song Yu's expression changed when he heard what the middle-aged man said. He looked at the middle-aged man and asked loudly in front of everyone. The middle-aged man whom Song Yu called Uncle Zhang was the one who had pointed out Yun Jian's identity in front of everyone. Uncle Zhang was an old friend of Song Yu's father, Song Fan. At the same time, he was also a big shot in the black market. Usually, when Song Yu was by Song Fan's side, he always saw this Uncle Zhang as solemn and dignified. Even if someone greeted him, Uncle Zhang was a calm and composed person who would only nod slightly. However, he saw something in Uncle Zhang's expression just now. Song Yu saw Uncle Zhang, who had always been calm and composed, show a frightened expression just now. That was enough to prove that the number 1 on the international secret agent ranking, Slaying God, was a terrifying existence. Yun Jian, who was a distance away, did not expect anyone to recognize Shun Ji's saber. Shun Ji's saber had been with her for more than 10 years. Moreover, the saber was engraved with her unique Ji character, which could not be imitated by outsiders. Seeing the saber was like seeing the number 2 assassin on the international assassin ranking, Shun Ji. One had to know one thing. The 3 survivors from Han back then, Slaying God, Shun Ji, and Mad Dragon, were all top figures on the international secret agent assassin chart. Yun Jian aside, Shun Ji was ranked 2nd on the assassin ranking. Her strength was shocking, and her completion rate of missions was 2nd only to Yun Jian. She was also an existence that made people panic just by hearing her name. Mad Dragon, ranked 3rd on the International Secret Service rankings, codenamed God of War. Mad Dragon was famous for his strength. He wasn't much weaker than Yun Jian and Shun Ji. But in terms of speed, Yun Jian was better than him, and it was because of this that Mad Dragon would never be able to surpass Yun Jian. There was no doubt that the 3 men who had survived in Han were the top assassins on the International Secret Agent ranking list. This was also the reason Wyan Hun had such an important position in this world. What? Old John, what did you say? Shunji, the number 2 assassin in the world? Slaying God, the number 1 on the international secret agent ranking. How is this possible? They're so young. How could they be such terrifying figures? Even Song Fan revealed a frightened and surprised expression in front of everyone. That's impossible, but that's saber. Uncle Zhang immediately shook his head, refuting Yun Jian and Shun Ji's terrifying identities in front of everyone. But he couldn't figure it out. If Shun Ji wasn't the legendary number 2 assassin on the assassin ranking list, then why? Why would she have this saber? Shun Ji saw Song Fan, Uncle Zhang, and the rest terrified expressions, as well as the surrounding students' pale faces. She laughed out loud, and when she saw that everyone's expressions became even more panicked, she found it amusing and admitted her identity in front of everyone. Ha ha, since you've seen it, I won't hide it from you. That's right, I am, Chapter 2044. I'm Shinji, number 2 on the assassin ranking. However, before Shinji could finish his sentence, Yun Jian, who had walked up from behind Shinji, elbowed Shinji's waist. With this retort, Shinji swallowed back the words he had been about to spit out. 006. If she's Shinji, number 2 on the international assassin ranking, she would have been stupid enough to be killed. Otherwise, why would she be weaker than me? Yin Jian continued Shinji's words and walked up to the crowd. Then, Yin Jian's eyes flashed sharply. She pursed her red lips and continued in front of the crowd. Her name is Shinji, but it's just a coincidence. Or do you believe that I, who just turned 18, am a number 1 on the international secret agent ranking, slaying God? Yin Jian's words calmed the rowdy crowd down completely. That was right, she was only 18. Although the crowd did not know slaying God's age, she should be in her 30s or 40s to have such a battle record. Moreover, how could slaying God, who was number 1 on the international secret agent ranking, be a woman? No matter what, she should be a strong man, right? If that was the case, it was impossible for Shunji to be number 2 on the international assassin ranking. Song Fan, Uncle Zhang, and everyone around them heaved a sigh of relief at the same time. The president of our martial arts club is amazing. This is the glory of our martial arts club. Long live the president. Mo Buffon saw that the opportunity was ripe and shouted at Yun Jian. From now on, our martial arts club will follow President Yun Jian to our deaths. Mo Buffon's shout made the members of the martial arts club around them lift their heads proudly and shout. In a short while, the martial arts club shouts echoed throughout the hall. We will follow President Yun Jian to our deaths. We will follow President Yun Jian to our deaths. Perhaps Yun Jian's ability was too shocking, but the martial arts club was now proud of Yun Jian. Such a grand occasion was something that had never happened before. Seeing this, everyone present was shocked by the scene. Indeed, Yun Jian was definitely not an international secret agent. Otherwise, why would she be here? This was simply impossible. However, it was definitely not easy for a girl to subdue everyone in a martial arts club and make so many people accept her wholeheartedly. Shun Ji blinked. In the end, he didn't say anything. He picked up his long knife and left. Since 006 doesn't want to expose her identity, she naturally has to give this face. It seemed that she, Shun Ji, wasn't qualified. However, she would never give up, unless she died. Otherwise, she would definitely surpass 006. Even if she couldn't surpass him, she would make it her life's goal. She would never stop improving her strength. This was a tacit understanding between Yun Jian and Shun Ji. No one could be missing. Because the two of them, ever since Yun Jian was 5 years old in her previous life, they had regarded each other as mortal enemies. With the intention of surpassing each other, they progressed together and became the top existence that countless people could not touch. Let's work together and grow together. On the other side, Gun Yinji, who had been dragged into her hotel room by Li Nong, refused to go in no matter what. In the end, Li Nong simply carried her in horizontally. Why are you letting go of me? Don't think you can bully me just because you're a god. Sister Xiaoxin will tell my sister Jian to deal with you. You didn't do what you promised me. Gun Yinji struggled, but Li Nong threw her face down onto the bed. By then, the door was already closed. However, she felt a pair of perverted hands caressing and even scratching her buttocks from behind her waist. Li Nong's calm but infuriating voice came from behind Gun Yinji. It was not asking for Gun Yinji's permission, but directly taking action, acting first and reporting later. You're from myriad continents. It's not easy to stay in Deity Continent. For your safety, I'll protect you as long as you let me touch you again. Chapter 2045. As he said that, Li Nong grabbed another handful in a righteous manner. Don't grab me again. I'm begging you. I'm begging you, please. Gun Yinji was pressed against the bed with her stomach facing down. Li Nong was using his slender right leg to block her legs, and his hands continued to grab her. Pervert. Shameless. I still have to get married in the future. How can I get married like this? You pervert. Gun Yinji was being ravaged. Because her back was facing the ceiling, her legs were pinned down. Gun Yinji raised her head and tried to use the strength of her shoulders to arch up. But she was no match for Li Nong. Although they were on Earth and couldn't use the spiritual power of the mainland, Li Nong was much stronger than Gun Yinji. It was clear that Li Nong didn't completely rely on spiritual power on the divine continent. He also added a lot of requirements for physique and physical fitness. So Gun Yinji was naturally no match for him. Gun Yinji shouted, I still have to get married in the future. How can I get married like this? Li Nong's hand, which had been on Gun Yinji's, but froze. Li Nong froze. Get married? She still had to get married? Gun Yinji turned her head and saw that Li Nong froze when he heard what she said. She gathered her strength and raised her head to push Li Nong away forcefully. Then she quickly stood up and turned around to glare fiercely at Li Nong before running out the door. Just as she ran out the door, Li Nong caught her hand again. What are you doing? I'm starving. I want to eat. Gun Yinji felt wronged when she said this. She hadn't even eaten dinner, and this pervert was touching her all over. I'll take you to eat. Li Nong didn't mess around this time. He grabbed Gun Yinji's hand and took her downstairs to eat like a boy in love. On Yunjian's end, after Shun Ji left, everything seemed to return to its original calm. After that, nothing major happened. However, everyone still stuck to their original plan and played a round of balloon shooting, darts, and other games. Yunjian didn't participate. Instead, she stood beside Zhu Huili and taught her how to shoot and throw darts. Yunjian, you also know how to shoot and throw darts. At this moment, Mo Bufan could no longer use the word worship to describe his reverence towards Yunjian. He moved to Yunjian's side and spoke with great respect. This was an affirmative statement. He didn't suspect that Yunjian knew how to play games like guns and darts. Yunjian merely pursed her lips indifferently. With Yunjian's guidance, Zhu Huili managed to hit a medium-sized doll. Out of a dozen shots, he only missed once. Zhu Huili had never hit so many balloons before. When he got the big doll, Zhu Huili jumped excitedly and hugged Yunjian's neck. He was so excited that he couldn't control himself. In the end, until the end of the party, nothing else happened that was worth mentioning. Yunjian and Mo Bufan left in the opposite direction. Song Yu was staring fixedly at Yunjian's slender figure, unable to return to his senses for a long time. Mo Lianhua stood to the side and watched as Song Yu stared fixedly at Yunjian. She couldn't help but feel angry. Song Yu didn't give up his pursuit of Yunjian. Mo Lianhua didn't dare to stop Song Yu now, but she had the urge to kill Yunjian. Both of them had their own ulterior motives. About half a month had passed since that day's party. On this day, Mo Bufan, as the vice president of the martial arts club, received news that Jiangxing City would hold a martial arts competition soon. Anyone who was a fan of martial arts could sign up, because it wasn't a competition sponsored by the school, but an event organized by Jiangxing City. The school's martial arts club had the freedom to participate. However, Mo Bufan would lead everyone to participate in this martial arts competition every year. Moreover, the opponents of their martial arts club weren't people from society. They were martial arts clubs from other schools. At this time, Yun Jian was standing in the martial arts club and speaking to the members. On the eve of the martial art competition, I will strengthen your training these days. Hey. Chapter 2046. In the past, Mo Buffon would lead the members of the martial arts club to strengthen their training whenever the competition was about to begin. However, the person leading the martial art club this year was not Mo Buffon, but Yun Jian. Yun Jian's words were echoed by most of the members of the martial arts club. For the competition, we're not afraid of any hardship or exhaustion. President, please increase the difficulty of our training. That's right. This time, we must trample the members of the martial arts club from Eastern University under our feet. Haha, with the president around, there won't be a problem. Last year, the martial arts club from Eastern University won first place, the Green Bull Gang from Dragon City University won second place, and we're only third. Now that the president of the Green Bull Gang has been killed by the president, as long as we defeat the martial arts club from Eastern University, the first place will belong to us. After Yun Jian finished speaking, the members of the martial arts club were in high spirits. The atmosphere at the scene was soon hyped up. Everyone in the martial arts club had witnessed Yun Jian's skills and strength. At that time, their admiration and trust for Yun Jian had been deeply ingrained in the hearts of the members of the martial arts club. I'll sign up for the martial arts competition tomorrow. In addition, the martial arts club that signs up for this year's competition needs to provide a club name. Everyone, think about what kind of club name our martial arts club should provide. At that time, Mo Buffon held a martial arts competition form in his hand and spoke to the crowd. How about the Invincible Gang? Isn't this name loud enough? Immediately, a boy mischievously said, "Pfft, Invincible Gang? What's the difference between that and the Green Bull Gang? Our martial arts club can't have such a tacky name. It's degrading our status." The members of the martial arts club discussed animatedly. Why don't we ask the president to help us come up with a name? Zhou Huntao blinked and looked at Yun Jian. Yes, let the president do it. The president is the spiritual pillar of our club now. That's right. Immediately, someone agreed with Zhou Huntao. At that time, Yun Jian, who was surrounded by everyone, blinked her eyes. Are you sure you wanted to come up with a name? Seeing this, Yun raised her eyebrows slightly and said, Yes, President, you're the best. A boy named Zhou Dun looked at Yun Jian and shouted. Zhou Dun was the fattest boy in the martial arts club. His body was like a meatball, and he walked unsteadily. He was a typical fat guy. As soon as Zhou Dun finished speaking, no one had any objections. Thus, everyone handed the name of the martial arts club to Yun Jian. Bang! At this moment, the mysterious door outside the martial arts club was kicked open. The person walked in angrily. After taking a few things from the martial arts club, she left angrily. Senior Huiling? Senior Sister Huiling is back? Where are you going, Senior Huiling? The person who returned was Kai Huiling. Kai Huiling was the third-year senior Yun Jian had pushed Zhu Huili when she first entered the university. Later, Yun Jian had stepped on her. Kai Huiling entered the martial arts society because of Mo Buffon. Since she was stepped on by Yun Jian in public last time, Kai Huiling had not appeared in school or the martial arts club for a long time. Kai Huiling, who appeared at that time, glared at Yun Jian fiercely and said to everyone, I want to leave the club. This kind of person is the president of our martial arts club. Sooner or later, she will be finished. Mo Buffon, you will regret it. Kai Huiling closed her eyes and shouted angrily at Mo Buffon. Then, she turned around and ran away. She was probably still expecting Mo Buffon to chase her back. Many girls who still stayed in the martial arts club had a good relationship with Kai Huiling. But at that time, when they saw Kai Huiling run out after saying those words to Yun Jian, no one chased after her. Senior Sister Huiling is really too much this time. Yes, our new president is really amazing. Anyway, this time, I will definitely stand on our new president's side. After Kai Huiling left, the girls in the martial arts club still turned to Yun Jian's side. This was Yun Jian's charm. At that time, Yun Jian had already become the god in the eyes of the boys and girls in the martial arts club, without her saying anything. Shrine. Just when everyone was talking about what Kai Huiling said before she ran away, Yun Jian suddenly raised her red lips and said in public, "Is this the name of our martial arts club?" Mo Bufan heard it and asked Yun Jian on behalf of everyone. However, Yun Jian, who was standing in front of everyone, nodded. The slightly raised red arc deepened again. She pursed her lips and explained in public why the club was named Shrine. The god of Jiangsheng, the only club. Therefore, Shrine. A. If you left after you finish your paper, the teacher wouldn't say anything. At most, the teacher would ask you if you were sure you wanted a hand in your paper. She was wearing a light blue down jacket. It was an ordinary piece of clothing, but it accentuated her figure. At the same time, Yun Jian shoved her phone and both her hands into her pockets as she made her way to the university gate. He had just sent her a message. He was waiting for her at the entrance of the university. Yun Jian was stopped by Song Yu, who had just come from the University of the East, when Yun Jian walked out of the gate. Yun Jian. As he spoke, Song Yu ran to Yun Jian with a rose in each hand. Ever since the gathering, Song Yu had been sending roses to Yun Jian every day without missing a single day. However, Yun Jian never paid attention to it, let alone accepted it. Mo Lianhua watched Song Yu run towards Yun Jian. She was in a daze and was supported by Pan Qian. This little b asterisk tch. She doesn't accompany her rich, short, and fat boyfriend. She seduces Mr. Song every day. She's two-timing. Disgusting. Pan Qian said angrily after supporting Mo Lianhua. However, just as Pan Qian finished speaking, she suddenly saw Song Yu happily walk to Yun Jian's side. But then, a handsome man arrived in front of Yun Jian before Song Yu. After that, the handsome man wrapped his arm around Yun Jian's slim waist and shot a murderous glance at Song Yu, who was holding a bouquet of roses in his hand and looked pathetic in comparison to him. Such a handsome man. He hugged Yun Jian's slender waist in front of everyone. Mo Lianhua and Pan Qian were drooling. Who was he? How could there be such a handsome man in this world? Who are you? Why are you hugging my woman? Song Yu saw Ce suddenly appear. He looked at Yun Jian angrily and shouted at Ce. He looked as if he had already won Yun Jian's heart. Your woman? Ce frowned when he heard it. When did my wife become your woman? Ce hugged Yun Jian's slender waist tighter. Wife? Mo Lianhua and Pan Qian, who were far away, exclaimed in shock. No, that's impossible. Are you Yun Jian's short, fat boyfriend? Song Yu shook his head in disbelief. He was short, fat, and fat. Ce's handsome brows creased slightly. Before Song Yu could react, Ce was already smiling. After showing off his and Xiao Jin's marriage certificate in country R, Song Yu, Mo Lianhua, and Pan Qian were shocked. Ce took out the pregnancy test he had taken from the hospital last time. There was an error on the pregnancy test, but the words pregnancy confirmed were still there. Ce held the pregnancy test between his slender fingers and showed it to Song Yu, Mo Lianhua, and Pan Qian. Then, while Song Yu and Pan Qian looked like they had eaten **T, Ce continued his lie that was so thick-skinned that even a gun could not penetrate. Xiao Jian is already pregnant with my child. Hey. Chapter 2048. Yun Jian glanced at the pregnancy test slip in Ce's hand and blushed. She did not expect him to hide the paper. Yun Jian had a bad feeling that this piece of paper might very well replace the country, our marriage certificate. No, that's impossible. This has to be fake. It's fake. Song Yu shook his head as he held the rose in his hand. Yun Jian, I made a love circle with 99 roses for you the last time and sent you roses every day for so many days. I can swear to the heavens that I love you. How can you not understand my love for you? Song Yu looked at Yun Jian as if Yun Jian had betrayed him and gotten together with Ce. Yun Jian's lips curled into a scornful smirk. The man had even placed a love circle with 99 roses for Xiao Jian. Ce, who was not that jealous just now, was instantly envious. Ce had no intention of killing Song Yu just now, but Ce's brows were furrowed as a murderous intent spread from Ce. Song Yu, Imo Yinhua, and Pan Xian could not help feeling a chill run down their spines. Before Ce could make a move, Yunjian had already wrapped her arms around Ce's chest. Her head could only reach Ce's chin as Yunjian pressed the side of her face against Ce's chest. The scene was so loving that Song Yu could not take his eyes off it. That was not all. Yunjian did it in front of Song Yu, Imo Yinhua, and Pan Xian, who had initially said that Ce was a short, chubby rich kid and was now dumbfounded. She tiptoed and raised her hand to grab Ce's collar like a kitten scratching an itch, causing Ce to bend down. She, on the other hand, brought her red lips to Ce's and offered a kiss in front of everyone. After a light peck, Yunjian pressed the side of her face against Ce's chest again. After the action that was more intimate than a couple's, Yunjian cooperated with Ce and said something that nearly angered the trio. "We're already married. Love is a matter between husband and wife. It's reasonable even if I'm pregnant. What's wrong with that?" Yunjian spoke smoothly. Ce, who could feel Yunjian's face pressing against his chest, broke into a smile when he heard her words. His Xiao Jian knew how to say something so touching too. The words love between a man and a woman, matters between husband and wife, and pregnancy struck Song Yu's heart like a thunderclap. Imo Yinhua had long forgotten that Song Yu was pursuing Yunjian. She kept her eyes on Ce, unable to believe that this man who was more handsome than any man who walked out of comic was Yunjian's boyfriend. The legendary short and fat man. Pan Xian was rooted to the spot in shock as well. Could someone tell her why Yunjian's boyfriend was so handsome? No, handsome was not even the word to describe him. He was so handsome that it was impossible to find a second person like him in this world. His handsome face that looked like it was sculpted with chiseled features was flawless. When he stood next to Yunjian, one was handsome while the other was as beautiful as jade. There was no flaw to pick out. Imo Yinhua and Pan Xian were envious of the scene. Even so, there's no one more compatible than us in this world. Yunjian, you have to be mine. Look, you're from the bloody world too. So am I. My dad's the boss of River City's top mafia group. Come with me, I won't despise you. Even if you're pregnant with someone else's child, you just have to abort it. Even after listening to Shun Ji's words and knowing this now, Song Yu refused to let go. As he spoke, Song Yu reached out to grab Yunjian's wrist. However, before his hand could touch Yunjian, he was sent flying more than 10 meters away with a kick. The one who did it was undoubtedly Ce. After sending Song Yu flying more than 10 meters away with a kick, Ce's murderous intent flared. He glared coldly at Song Yu, who was about to spit blood, and warned him icily. Song Yu, who had fallen to the ground, was so shocked that his heart was pounding. How dare you covet my woman? The top mafia group in River City. Huh? Very well. Your father's gang is now in Hun Group's must-kill list. Hey. Chapter 2049. Ce's words were like the summons of the king of hell. His voice reached Song Yu, Imo Lianhua, and Pan Xian's ears. Imo Lianhua and Pan Xian almost screamed when they saw Ce's kick. So handsome. They had never seen a man as handsome as Ce in their lives. When Song Yu was sent flying with a kick just now, Ce had done it with half of his arm around Yunjian. Ce's words almost made Mo Lianhua and Pan Xian scream like love-struck girls. But in the end, they held it in. Mo Lianhua originally wanted to kill Yunjian because of Song Yu's confession to Yunjian. But now, Mo Lianhua didn't even want to look at Song Yu. If possible, she wanted to trade with Yunjian. However, unlike Mo Lianhua and Pan Xian, although Song Yu didn't participate in the matters of his father's gang, he had heard a lot about it from his father. In the underworld, the last people to provoke weren't international mafia bosses, nor were they international arms magnates. Compared to these two organizations, all the international mafia bosses and international arms magnates had to step aside. And these two organizations were an Han organization and Kosha mercenaries. Anyone who provoked these two forces would be standing directly on top of a coffin, separated from the Grim Reaper by a distance of 0 meters. Song Yu was no stranger to an Han organization's must-kill list. Song Yu's father, Song Fan, had warned Song Yu in a very strict manner that anyone who was listed on an Han organization's must-kill list would become a wanted criminal of an Han organization. In the future, as long as an Han organization's assassins or secret agents saw them, they would directly eliminate the wanted person or organization with a bounty. One had to know that an Han organization's assassins and secret agents had the ability to wipe out a gang. When Song Yu first heard this, he was so scared that his face turned green and purple. He even swore that he would never provoke an Han organization in his life. But what did he just hear? He actually heard C.E. say that. His father's gang was already listed on an Han organization's must-kill list. Mine Han organization? C.E.'s words made Song Yu's eyes widen. Why you're from the Han organization? Song Yu was sent flying more than 10 meters away. At this moment, he didn't have time to get angry, nor did he have time to cover the place where he was hurt. He stared at C.E. with wide eyes. Although M.O. Lianhua and Pan Xian didn't know what was going on when they saw how fearful Song Yu was of the Han organization, they were even more mesmerized by C.E.'s handsomeness. At that moment, M.O.'s son, who was standing not far away, walked over from the side. Young master, the #1 gang in Rivertown has been added to the must-kill list. M.O.'s son did as he was told when he heard C.E.'s words. C.E. shifted her gaze from Song Yu to Yun Jian. Then, in front of Song Yu and the others, he took Yun Jian's small hand and turned to leave. Song Yu was completely paralyzed on the ground. M.O. Lianhua and Pan Xian wanted to chase after him, but they were frightened by M.O. Sen's fierce eyes. At the same time, C.E. was holding Yun Jian's hand as they walked down the street. Xiao Jian, why are your hands so cold? C.E. asked softly as he felt Yun Jian's icy hands. Yun Jian adjusted the light blue down jacket she was wearing and answered, I just finished my test paper in the classroom. She had been holding a pen when she was doing her test paper. Of course, her hands were cold in this wintry weather. C.E. frowned slightly at that and pulled Yun Jian to a milk tea shop without another word to order a cup of milk tea for Yun Jian to warm her hands. Before the milk tea was ready, C.E. held Yun Jian's small hand in his large one to keep Yun Jian warm. The shop owner passed the milk tea to C.E. and quickly passed the hot milk tea to Yun Jian to warm up her cold hands. The shop owner could not help exclaiming at the sight, Young man, there aren't many college students who spoil their girlfriends like you. The shop owner thought that C.E. would be smug about how he spoiled his girlfriend, but instead, C.E. frowned and explained in annoyance, My girlfriend isn't my girlfriend. We're married. She's my wife. Hey. Chapter 2050. C.E. was upset when he heard the milk tea shop owner say that Yun Jian was only his girlfriend. When the milk tea shop owner heard C.E.'s explanation, his expression froze for a moment. Then, he immediately put on an I know everything attitude. He didn't believe that C.E. and Yun Jian were married. However, the shop owner believed that C.E. completely doted on Yun Jian. The weather was so cold that it felt like winter. The passers-by on the street didn't even want to take their hands out of their pockets. However, C.E. used his large palms to warm Yun Jian's icy cold hands. When the milk tea was ready, he immediately handed it to her. The shop owner was experienced and had a wife whom he loved deeply. He nodded with a smile. Although he believed that C.E. and Yun Jian's marriage was fake, he still nodded as though he believed it. He looked at Yun Jian and couldn't help but sigh. Miss, you have a husband who loves you deeply. Since you're a couple, then live well together. Hee, play when it's time to play, and study hard when it's time to study. The shop owner looked kindly at Yun Jian and C.E. as he exhorted them. The shop owner thought that Yun Jian and C.E. were both university students and that he was only in his 40s. However, his kind expression made him seem like an old man in his 50s or 60s who was carefully exhorting the younger generation. When Yunjian heard the shop owner's words, she was stunned. However, her red lips curled up slightly. "You old thing, there's a mountain of customers behind us. You're going to make me busy. Hurry up and help us." The shop owner's wife was busy making the milk tea and fried chicken. She was too busy to handle everything. She gently pulled the shop owner's ear and yelled at him in a playful tone. After being yelled at by his in-laws, the shop owner happily waved goodbye to Yun Jian and Ce and went back to work. The lady boss was fierce to her husband, but when she saw Yun Jian and Ce, she nodded and smiled before continuing with her work. In this era, milk tea franchises were not popular yet. The business of this milk tea shop was very good, but the words on the shop sign indicated that the milk tea shop had not joined. The Zhang family's husband and wife milk tea shop. After that, he didn't say anything. He pulled Yun Jian away and returned to his and Yun Jian's cozy room. He had bought a luxurious suite in Rivertown. Whenever he was free to come to Rivertown, Yun Jian would move out of her dormitory and stay there. In college, there were many girls who went out with their boyfriends at night. No one would know that Yun Jian was not in the dormitory. So softer. Yun Jian bit Ce's fleshless shoulder as Ce did the shameful thing to her. At the same time, both of them were staying in the luxurious suite that Ce bought to make it easier for him to meet Yun Jian. The orange light in the room shone down. It was dim, but not cool. In spite of it, Yun Jian could see clearly what Ce was doing on top of her. Even when he was doing this kind of thing, his handsome face didn't have the slightest change in expression. If it were not for the fact that Ce was naked, Yun Jian would have thought that she was the only one who was doing something so perverted. Ce was so forceful that Yun Jian almost could not hold it in and wanted to cry out, but she swallowed it back into her stomach. It was embarrassing enough to do something like this. If she cried out again, where would her dignity go? "Xiao Jian, cry out if you can't hold it in." Ce tightened his grip and arched his handsome face. Yun Jian pressed her face against his shoulder, too shy to look at him. "Xiao Jian, you don't have to hold it in front of me. Be good and cry out," Ce said, the curve of his handsome face deepening. Then, he bit Yun Jian's ear. Yun Jian went limp and numb. Unable to hold it in any longer, she moaned shyly. "May." Chapter 2051. Yun Jian, who had been forced to scream by Ce, couldn't hold it in anymore. Of course, this was the result of Ce's hard work. At that time, it had been more than 20 days since Li Nong had promised to take Gu Nianji to the Divine Continent. After Li Nong had taken Gu Nianji to a small restaurant to eat, he hadn't done anything else. He hadn't taken Gu Nianji to the Divine Continent. Of course, it wasn't that he had broken his promise, but that Li Nong had just arrived on Earth and didn't plan to go back yet. But at that moment, Gu Nianji angrily knocked on Li Nong's door. Li Nong, who was dressed in formal clothes, opened the door. After seeing Gu Nianji standing behind the door without anyone noticing, Li Nong's eyes lit up slightly. "Hey kid, were you playing with your sister? It's been almost a month. Why haven't you taken me to the Divine Continent? Let me tell you, if you don't take me to the Divine Continent, I'll follow you all the time in the future and won't leave. I'll guard you until you take me to the Divine Continent. Otherwise, don't even think about walking out of this door." Gu Nianji straightened her body and spread her legs and hands like a spider. She had an expression that said, "If you don't promise me, I won't leave. Are you sure you'll follow me wherever I go?" Li Nong raised his eyebrows slightly when he heard Gu Nianji's words. He suddenly looked down and met Gu Nianji's eyes. A sly and deep smile appeared on his handsome face. When Gu Nianji saw this sly and deep smile, she took a deep breath. Then she looked at Li Nong again. Why did she feel that something was wrong? However, Gu Nianji didn't think too much about it. She nodded at Li Nong, then laughed and stretched out her hand. Yes, I'll follow you wherever you go. I'll annoy you to death. You pervert. You're still going back on your word. Then let's go." Li Nong didn't wait for Gu Nianji to finish speaking. He grabbed Gun Yinji's wrist and closed the door of his hotel room. He dragged Gun Yinji out of the hotel. "Hey, what are you doing? Why are you taking me out?" Gun Yinji tried to break free from Li Nong's grip, but Li Nong took her and ran. Gun Yinji wasn't like this before. At that time, Gun Yinji kept calling herself sister because she wanted to pretend to be a big brother in front of Li Nong. "Let me tell you, it doesn't matter where you take me. I won't listen to you." In order to show her determination, Gun Yinji patted her chest and said to Li Nong, "Let's eat." Li Nong's lips curved into a smile when he heard Gun Yinji's solemn vow. "Aren't you going?" he added. Gun Yinji gulped when she heard the word eat. She was about to say no, but she changed her mind. "Even after eating, I won't forgive you. You have to take me to the divine continent." "Okay," Li Nong replied quickly this time. After he finished speaking, he pulled Gun Yinji towards a restaurant. Gun Yinji, who was so focused on eating, didn't realize that someone was holding her hand and didn't let go the whole way. At the same time, after they were done, C.E. carried Yun Jian, who was limp and weak, into the bathroom to wash her. At first, C.E. really did wash Yun Jian carefully for her. "I'll get up first. Take your time." Yun Jian wanted to get up first after soaking in the bathtub for so long. Who knew that just as Yun Jian stood up, C.E., who scanned the beautiful scenery around them, knew to pin Yun Jian down in the bathtub. "Xiao Jian, you're so beautiful." C.E. scanned Yun Jian without any obstacles. What the gaze meant was obvious. Yun Jian could tell at a glance after being with C.E. for so long. The 666 days of the divine spring surfaced in Yun Jian's mind. Don't do it here." Yun Jian blushed shyly, revealing her girlish face that she only showed in front of him. "Xiao Jian, I can't wait any longer." C.E.'s lips curved before he pushed her legs apart and went on a rampage in the water. "Hey!" Chapter 2052. Like a small boat gently brushing against the surface of the water, the two of them hugged each other endlessly. The night was still long. The room was filled with romance. C.E. would visit Yun Jian several times a month. Although C.E. didn't visit her often during the first 2 months when she returned to Earth, C.E. had become a habit. She would visit Yun Jian 3 times a month and stay for 2 days each time. Of course, C.E. would usually visit Yun Jian during the weekend. After 2 days, Yun Jian would go back to her dormitory. Zhu Huili was already used to Yun Jian moving out for 2 days whenever C.E. came. Of course, as long as Yun Jian went back to her dormitory, Zhu Huili would go with Yun Jian as usual. That afternoon, it was almost time for class. Yun Jian and Zhu Huili went to the classroom first. Seeing Yun Jian and Zhu Huili leave the dormitory, her roommate Shi Xiujuan went up to Miao Li and asked, "Miao Li, did you ask Yun Jian to go with you on purpose during the last gathering?" Miao Li's eyes flickered when she heard Shi Xiujuan mention this. Although Miao Li and Shi Xiujuan were good friends, Miao Li didn't want Shi Xiujuan to know about this. Miao Li had secretly handed over the information to Song Yu behind everyone's back. "What? When did I do that?" Miao Li pretended not to know. "Tisk, stop pretending. You didn't even tell me. Your good friend." "What do you mean? I just found 10,000 yuan in your bag. That's 10,000 yuan. If Song Yu didn't ask you to give it to him, could it be your own money? I know how much money your family has." Shi Xiujuan said with some dissatisfaction. "Xiujuan, I didn't hide it from you on purpose. Song Yu forbade me from telling anyone else. Otherwise, he wouldn't have given me so much." Miao Li realized that her lie was exposed. She rolled her eyes and quickly thought of an excuse to cover up her lie. "Well, I'm your friend. I'm happy for you." Shi Xiujuan was fooled. Miao Li and Shi Xiujuan didn't know that Yun Jian was standing outside the dormitory. The soundproofing effect of the dormitory was quite good. The people inside the door usually couldn't hear the conversations of the people outside, and the people outside usually couldn't hear the conversations of the people inside the dormitory. But at that time, Yun Jian heard the conversation between Miao Li and Shi Xiujuan clearly. Yun Jian's deep eyes flickered slightly. A trace of coldness flashed across the corner of her mouth and disappeared without a trace in an instant. Seeing that Zhu Huili didn't notice her and stopped walking, Yunjian followed in 2 or 3 steps, as if she didn't notice anything. After the scheduled classes in the afternoon, the students all left the classroom. The head teacher, who hadn't appeared for a month, finally showed up. At this time, most of the students in the classroom had just left. A few were still in the classroom. Miss Yu, the head teacher who hadn't appeared for a long time, first waved at Yunjian and then walked over with a smile. You're Yunjian, right? Miss Yu was a female teacher in her 40s. She was about 1.55 meters tall. She wasn't tall, but she was quite well proportioned. It was obvious that she was married and had a child. Yunjian nodded and said calmly, yes. Seeing this, Miss Yu walked up to Yunjian with a smile. In front of some of the students in the classroom, she directly praised Yunjian. You got first place in the freshman examination this time, especially your English essay. Even our English professor was full of praise after reading it. Miss Yu praised her first. It should be known that ordinary students would have laughed happily after hearing the teacher's praise. They would be as happy as kindergartners who had received lollipops. However, Yunjian in front of her seemed to have expected this result. She replied calmly, yes. Miss Yu was stunned. She didn't expect Yunjian to have such an attitude. However, after being stunned for a while, Miss Yu wasn't overly shocked. She didn't continue to praise her. Instead, she directly stated her purpose for coming. Miss Yunjian, the Normal University of Jiangsheng, next door, wants to organize a volunteer teaching activity for college students in the countryside. Our school has a total of 4 places, and they will be given to the top student of each grade. This volunteer teaching activity is a rare opportunity. It lasts for a week. The purpose is to let college students experience some of the hardships of rural life and bring joy to the rural children during this week. Are you willing to represent our school to teach in the countryside for a week? A. Chapter 2054. Yunjian was extremely disgusted with Miss Yu's threatening tone despite her appearance as a teacher. Therefore, she directly said such words to Miss Yu in front of Zhu Huili and the other students who had not yet left after class. Hearing Yunjian's words, Zhu Huili was stunned. The other students who had not yet left were also shocked. When they reacted, the naughty boys who had not yet left gathered together and whispered to each other. Oh my God, Yunjian from our class is fighting with a homeroom teacher. Too fierce. Even we don't dare to fight with the homeroom teacher easily. The homeroom teacher threatened her, but she actually threatened the homeroom teacher in return. TSK, this chick is beautiful with big breasts and a perky, but I didn't expect her to be so arrogant. The president of a martial arts club is really different. The conversation of this group of boys was almost as soft as the buzzing of mosquitoes. Miss Yu did not hear it. Yunjian's ears were good, and she heard it clearly, but she ignored it. Miss Yu, who was standing opposite Yunjian, was stunned by Yunjian's words. Then Miss Yu suddenly remembered that during the last teacher's meeting, the principal asked her to stay alone after the other teachers left and told her to take care of a classmate named Yunjian in their class in the future. Miss Yu had already forgotten about it. But when she heard Yunjian's words, her ears rang and she immediately recalled it. Could it be that Yunjian had a terrifying background? Thinking of this, Miss Yu felt a lingering fear. If that was really the case, then she could not afford to offend her. Okay. Yunjian, I promise you, I'm not that hard to talk to. If you had told me clearly earlier, I would have agreed directly. Then in the future, if you want to take leave from school, you don't need any reason. I will agree. But you have to tell me before you take leave. I have to know that you are safe. After all, the students were in school. If something happened to them, the teachers would also be responsible. If they couldn't find the culprit, the parents would make a fuss at the school. Yunjian was not an unreasonable person. Naturally, she nodded. Sure. Then go to the gate of Jiangsheng Normal University tomorrow morning at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Remember to bring your luggage. A teacher will stand there with a registration form to count the number of people. Just go and register. After that, follow the group. Seeing that Yun Jin agreed, Miss Yu told Yun Jin the plan. What he got in return was Yun Jin's emotionless reply, yes. The next day, 1 p.m., she appeared at the entrance of River City Normal University, not a minute too early nor too late. In the distance, there were more than 20 university students standing next to a teacher who was registering the number of students. Chapter 2055. That's great. My dad signed me up secretly, saying that he wanted to use this opportunity to let me experience what a poor life is like. I don't want that. Besides, I don't have any friends. Now that you're here, that's great. Liang Xiaomin skipped 2 steps toward Yun Jian and hugged her arm around Yun Jian's like a naughty girl. Yun Jian did not avoid her, clearly not repulsed by Liang Xiaomin. Liang Xiaomin's father, old Liang, had long realized that his daughter had been spoiled by him. She threw tantrums every day, even though she was not a bad person. As a matter of fact, the school was organizing a volunteer education program in the countryside. Old Liang used his connections to get Liang Xiaomin into the program. This time, he was determined to let his spoiled daughter experience what it was like to live in a poor mountainous area. When she returned in the future, he hoped that his daughter would be able to rein in her temper during this volunteer education program. Let's go sit over there. My legs are aching. After waiting for about 15 minutes, Liang Xiaomin bent over and massaged her legs. She did not even have the strength to straighten her back. She looked up at Yun Jian and spoke. Yun Jian replied softly. Liang Xiaomin then walked excitedly to the flower bed, made of ceramic tiles, and sat down on the tiles that were barely enough for one person to sit on. Yun Jian, on the other hand, stood aside without saying a word. After everyone had arrived, they each carried their travel backpacks filled with clothes and daily necessities and boarded the bus. The bus bumped along the way as it headed toward the destination. It took them 5 hours to arrive at the border of H province from J province. Many people on the bus were already impatient. Why aren't we here yet? It's been 5 hours. Someone's grumbling came and went. Some people on the bus were already taking a nap. Yun Jian and Liang Xiaomin sat in the same row. Liang Xiaomin had already fallen asleep from fatigue. Yun Jian was resting with her eyes closed as well. At the back seat of the bus, a guy was telling a bunch of girls a story excitedly. He was even showing off in all sorts of ways. The girls were very interested as they cheered excitedly. Have you heard of the director of New Cruise? Huh, that's amazing. It's only been 3 years since she started New Cruise, and now it's already on the international stage. This boy's name was Shun Qingjiang. He didn't look very good, but he was tall and lean. He usually liked to sit among a group of girls and brag. Needless to say, there really were such people in this world. They weren't good-looking, but they were popular with girls just because of their mouths. This was probably referring to Shun Qingjiang. Wow, that's amazing. Immediately, a girl seemed to be shocked and responded with a sentence. Of course, my dad has connections in New Cruise. If you want, I'll sneak you over to New Cruise to have some fun. It's not the first time I've been there. Seeing that the girls were interested, Shun Qingjiang became more and more excited. Seeing that he was surrounded by familiar faces, Shun Qingjiang could not help but tell them about what he did in New Cruise the last time he was there. Let me tell you a secret. I stole a treasure from New Cruise the last time. Those staff members were so stupid that they didn't notice. Huh. Shun Qingjiang told them about how he stole a treasure from New Cruise as if it was a glorious deed of chivalry. Once he said that, another group of ignorant girls exclaimed, New Cruise is an international company. Brother Jiang, you're amazing. You didn't even get caught stealing from New Cruise. You can go and be a master thief. You're so cool. That's right. That's amazing. I think even the international master thieves aren't as good as you. While the girls were chatting, Yun Jian, who had her eyes closed, suddenly opened them. No one noticed that her sharp eyes reflected a thick, murderous intent at the same time. Hey! Chapter 2056. The guy named Shin Jiang was still bragging when he suddenly saw the prettiest girl in the car, whom he had been paying attention to earlier, walk up to him from the front seat. Shin Jiang whistled and looked at Yun Jian, who was walking up to him. Thinking that Yun Jian was captivated by what he said just now as well, he flipped his hair and stopped the topic, telling Yun Jian, "What's wrong with you? Pretty lady, are you interested in New Cruise too? What did you steal from New Cruise?" Yun Jian asked with a cold expression. 2 days ago, Zhang Jifan had sent her a message. Something had been stolen from New Cruise. The item was worth hundreds of thousands, which was not worth much to New Cruise. However, the person who had stolen the item had conveniently taken away the design blueprint of the latest sports car that New Cruise had purchased at high price. It was very important to New Cruise. The design blueprint was the inspiration of a professor who was a genius in car production. It was the only one in the world, and even the professor could not produce a second one. New Cruise was equipped with cameras, but the cameras in this era were very blurry. One could only vaguely see a person's silhouette. Moreover, the person who had stolen the design blueprint of the latest sports car happened to be carrying the camera. Currently, New Cruise had begun a large-scale search for the thief. This had happened 2 days ago. If they had not found the thief, Yun Jian was planning to return to New Cruise and search for the culprit personally. However, she did not expect to hear Shin Qingjiang's words here. Shin Qingjiang had long scanned the pretty female university students in the car and had spotted the prettiest one among them, Yun Jian. However, Yun Jian did not seem to care about anything, so Shin Qingjiang found it difficult to make a move. However, Shin Qingjiang did not expect Yun Jian to offer herself to him. When he heard Yun Jian's words, Shin Qingjiang thought that Yun Jian was interested in what he had said. He quickly replied, "What else could it be? A treasure, of course. Brother Jiang stole it, so it belongs to him. New Cruise doesn't lack these things. You're not even Brother Jiang's girlfriend, so why are you being so nosy?" A fat girl stood in front of Yun Jian. At the same time, she shook her body twice with a rude and unreasonable look on her face. "You're a student from another school, right? They're so nosy that their elbows are about to reach out to our Jiangxing Normal University. Stand further away, stand further away." One eyesore. Together with the chubby girl, there was an elegant and beautiful young lady with a slender figure. She was dressed in luxurious clothes and stood in front of Yun Jian, shooting a disdainful glance at Yun Jian. Whether it was Shin Qingjiang, the fat girl, or the good-looking girl who spoke later, they were all students of Jiangxing Normal University. The chubby girl was called Kai Xin Yuan, and the good-looking girl was called Wu Zhizhi. Kai Xin Yuan and Wu Zhizhi were mesmerized by Shin Qingjiang. They did not know what was right and wrong, so they started yelling at Yun Jian. The other girls around Shin Qingjiang commented on Yun Jian as well, calling her shameless for coming up to them out of the blue. Indeed, if what Shin Qingjiang did had nothing to do with Yun Jian, then Yun Jian would be shameless for coming over out of nowhere. However, Shin Qingjiang admitted that he had stolen something from New Cruise. Moreover, Yun Jian had seen the surveillance video. The thief who had stolen the design blueprint had the exact same build as Shin Qingjiang. Yun Jian would remember anyone who caught her eye, no matter how tall or strong they were. This was the result of her years of experience and ability in assassination. Yun Jian ignored Kai Xin Yuan and Wu Zhizhi. She looked at Shin Qingjiang coldly and said bluntly, "Among the things you stole, there were a few blueprints for the interior and exterior of sports cars. How did you know?" Shin Qingjiang exclaimed in shock when he heard Yun Jian's words. "Pretty girl, don't tell me you have superpowers? You're amazing," Shin Qingjiang exclaimed as he looked at Yun Jian. It sounded like he was exclaiming, but in reality, Shin Qingjiang wanted to get closer to Yun Jian. As he spoke, Shin Qingjiang pushed away a girl who was secretly touching his thigh beside him. He patted the spot and said to Yun Jian, "Pretty girl, you're a pretty girl. Beauty, it seems like you're a kindred spirit. Why don't we sit down and talk?" What do you think? I'll bring you to new crews next time. How about that? I've been researching how to be a master thief recently. I realized that I'm really suitable to be one. Want to join me? Shen Xingjiang's words immediately made Wu Zhizhi unhappy. Brother Jiang, didn't you say you'd bring me? Don't worry, I'll bring you next time. Shen Xingjiang brushed Wu Zhizhi off and turned to look at Yunjian. Hand over the design blueprint. Shen Xingjiang had just turned to look at Yunjian when Yunjian spoke. Shen Xingjiang was stunned when he heard that. Pretty girl, I got those with my own abilities. Why should I give them to you? Unless you sleep with me. Before Shen Xingjiang could finish his sentence, Yunjian stood before him. Yunjian stood in front of Shen Xingjiang and the others. Her expression did not change, and her cold eyes were as sharp as ever. In the next second, Yunjian's right hand came to the side of Shen Xingjiang's neck. Shen Xingjiang thought that Yunjian was going to let him touch her hand. Just as he was about to touch her hand with a smile, a cold object pressed against his neck before he could touch Yunjian's hand. That object reflected a ray of light from the setting sun that shone through the window of the bus. It was only then that the crowd saw that Yunjian was holding a shiny butterfly knife. Before the crowd could react, Yunjian had already spoken in front of everyone on the bus. Her voice was as cold as ice in February. In the next second, everyone on the bus widened their eyes in shock. You stole my stuff and invited me to steal from my company. How dare you? Do you really think that I'm just a decoration as the chairman of new crews? Hey! Chapter 2057. Yunjian's voice was flat and monotonous, but it was as cold as ice in February. It was so cold that everyone in the bus, especially Shen Xingjiang who sat in front, Kai Xinyuan, and Wu Zhizhi beside him, shuddered from the bottom of their hearts. What do you mean? Wu Zhizhi had yet to catch on to what Yunjian meant. Your stuff? No, that's new Cruz's stuff. It's Brother Zhang's stuff now. Since when did it become yours? You can't be the director of new Cruz. Kai Xinyuan was so fat that the lumps of fat on her body started jiggling after she spoke. She shook her fat body and scolded Yunjian with a manly, rough voice. Everyone in the bus did not think that Yunjian was New Cruz's director. After all, her age was obvious. New Cruz was an international brand. If Yunjian was New Cruz's director, she would have started New Cruz at the age of 15, right? What kind of joke was that? I'll give it to you. Put the knife down, and I'll give it to you. Shen Xingjiang was still afraid of death. His pupils shrunk slightly as he stuttered. Give it to me first. Yunjian's words left no room for argument. Shen Xingjiang, who initially wanted to trick Yunjian, was afraid that the knife would be blind. Moreover, it was just a piece of scrap paper. He had brought it along because he liked the supercar's blueprint. It was useless to him. Clearly, Shen Xingjiang did not know that the piece of scrap paper he thought was worthless would fetch a sky-high price in the international market. Shen Xingjiang reached his hands into his shirt and pants pockets and searched around for a while. He then glanced at Yunjian. Seeing that Yunjian was staring at him, he slowly passed the blueprint to Yunjian. Yunjian took the blueprint from Shen Xingjiang's hands and kept the butterfly knife. She was so fast that no one could see when she put the knife away. By then, the bus had driven into the bumpy, uncemented, and muddy land ahead. As soon as the big bus drove into the bumpy, muddy ground, the whole bus started to sway left and right, causing the whole bus to jolt. Some of the students sitting on the bus didn't react to the sudden jolt, and their bodies involuntarily fell forward. Shen Xingjiang was sitting in the middle of the last row of the bus. There was no seat in front of him. The person standing straight in front of Shen Xingjiang was Yunjian. As the bus jolted, Shen Xingjiang was jolted along with it. He rolled his eyes and wanted to take advantage of the bumpy road to pretend that he fell forward and accidentally fell on Yunjian. In the bumpy ride of the bus, Yunjian retreated to her original seat in the front row in a few flashes without a care in the world. Shen Xingjiang missed the bus and fell face first onto the dirty floor of the bus. Shen Xingjiang was in so much pain that he could not stand up for a long time. Initially, he wanted to pounce on Yun Jian and rub her voluptuous breasts. But he did not expect Yun Jian to react so quickly. In the end, Kai Xinyuan, Wu Zhizhi, and the other girls helped Shun Qingjiang up. Sit tight and don't run around. The next 3 hours will be bumpy road. The driver shouted as he drove. This time, the university students organized a support program in the countryside. The teacher followed along and was now sitting at the front of the bus with his eyes closed. After the bus drove into the bumpy mountain road, many students who were sleeping woke up with a start. What's wrong? Why is the bus shaking? Liang Xiaomin, who had been sleeping and did not know what had happened, woke up with a start. By the time everyone came to their senses, the car was already shaking left and right. The bus swayed and swayed for about 3 hours on the deserted road. They arrived at the destination of the program, Wuzhen in City W of H Province. A. Chapter 2058. Wuzhen was located in the middle of a rugged ravine. It was a very remote and barren place. It was different from Xinjiang town, where Yun Jian was reborn. The wealth gap between Wuzhen and Xinjiang town was huge. Compared to Xinjiang town, Wuzhen could not even be considered a town. Wuzhen was surrounded by mountains and the roads were rugged. The people relied on their own sowing and harvesting to survive. There were no large textile factories in Wuzhen. Just imagine, from Wuzhen to the remote suburbs of City W, it took 3 hours by car. No large company would choose to invest in Wuzhen. This was truly a poor mountainous area. How poor was it? The people here, be it the elderly or the children, had never walked out of the mountains in their lives. The transportation here was very inconvenient. Occasionally, there would be people who would go to the city to collect on Mondays, but they would drive vehicles like tractors and tricycles. A normal bus would take 3 hours. Driving such a vehicle to the city would take at least 2 to 3 times longer than the bus. Moreover, taking a tractor to the city was expensive. The poverty here was beyond imagination. No news report could fully describe the hardships of the people at the bottom of society. Yin Jian had thought that Xinjiang town was already considered poor. After all, to her, who used to be at the top of the world, Xinjiang town was a stark contrast. However, in comparison to Xinjiang town, Wu town paled in comparison. Oh my God, are we really going to stay here for the next 7 days? This house is made of mud, right? What if the house collapses in the middle of the night? We'll die. And this road is full of potholes. There's not even a cement floor. The students exclaimed when they saw the scene before them. Although he was prepared, he was still shocked when he saw the scene in front of him. How is this a house? The houses in Wuzhen were all made of mud. Occasionally, those who were better off lived in stone houses. As for a brick house, to the people of Wuzhen, that was simply impossible. All right, I'll bring you to Wuzhen's mayor. He'll arrange a place for you to stay. The only teacher leading the group led the students across the potholes of the mud towards the mayor's house. Soon, the students were all settled down. Wuzhen was a town. There are also villages here. Some of the students were taken to the village children's homes. Wuzhen had a combined primary school and junior high school. If the children who lived in the village did not live in the school, they had to walk for about 2 hours every day to get to Wuzhen. The distance from Wuzhen to the outskirts of W City was far enough. Those poor children from the mountainous areas lived even deeper into the mountains than Wuzhen. Yin Jian followed him for about 2 hours on the mountain road. Finally, she was taken to a village that was 2 hours away from Wuzhen. Some of the students refused to go to the village no matter what, so the mayor arranged for them to live with the best families in Wuzhen. But to be honest, the family conditions in this place were not that different. Of course, Wuzhen could not accommodate so many people, so the mayor led Yun Jian and the others to Dali village, which was the nearest village to Wuzhen, but was still a 2-hour walk away. It was not easy to walk at night, but with a lantern, they could still walk. I can't walk anymore. I can't walk anymore, Liang Xiaomin panted. She could not keep up. The extra rooms in Wuzhen had already been taken by other students. Liang Xiaomin was complaining about her father the whole way. She complained as she walked. Don't talk when you walk. or you'd be more tired. Yun Jian helped Liang Xiumin walk up a steep slope. Little girl, you know so much at such a young age. It's rare. The mayor led the way with a lantern and could not help but exclaim. College students nowadays were spoiled. After walking so many mountain roads, it was normal for them to be like Liang Xiumin. There were not many who could endure hardship like this little girl. Hey! Chapter 2059. The mayor even made fun of them as he spoke. The mayor's words eased everyone's mood a little. Now, walking on the mountain path that went up and down was no longer as boring as it was at the beginning. Most of the people stayed in Wuzhen. Only a dozen people followed them to Dali village. Fortunately, it did not rain during the day, so the mountain path was not slippery. Everyone was exhausted from the climb. 2 hours later, amidst the crowd's repeated questions about their arrival, the mayor brought them to a small village. This was Dali village. Compared to Wuzhen, this place was even more desolate. Even the mud houses had become houses that only the rich of Dali village could afford to live in. Many people in Dali village lived in shabby, thatched huts. The mayor went from house to house and asked people to arrange accommodation for Yun Jian and the rest. Yun Jian and Liang Xiumin were arranged to live in the same house in Dali village. After the mayor reminded them, he went back to Wuzhen. The dozen or so college students who were arranged to live in Dali village were all told by the mayor that the children of these families would cross the mountains alone the next day to study in Wuzhen. When the time came, Yun Jian and the rest would follow their children to Wuzhen Primary School to meet up with the other college students who were here to teach. By then, the mayor had already left. Yun Jian and Liang Xiumin were sitting at the wooden table in the house they were arranged to live in. It was already 11 o'clock at night. The children and farmers in the mountains all went to bed early. They went to bed as soon as the sky turned dark. Today's incident was sudden. The mayor woke up the people in these houses and arranged for Yun Jian and the rest to live in. At this moment, Yun Jian and Liang Xiumin were sitting on the only 2 wooden stools in the thatched hut. An 11-year-old girl with rosy cheeks and a dirty face was standing in front of them. The girl's clothes were faded. One of her big toes was sticking out of the shoe because the shoe was broken. The shoe was also covered in mud. It looked like it had been worn for many years and was no longer fitting. In this cold and windy weather, the little girl only wore 2 pieces of shabby and dirty clothes. Her small body could not stop shivering. There was a rotten smell in the thatched hut. Liang Xiumin couldn't help but cover her mouth and nose, breathing softly. However, since she was lodging in someone else's house, Liang Xiumin was too embarrassed to say anything. She could only blame her father. This is not a place for people to live. This was a pigsty. After a long silence, the little girl greeted Yun Jian and Liang Xiumin fearfully. "Hello, sisters. Where are your parents?" Liang Xiumin covered her mouth and nose as she asked the little girl. Yun Jian blinked but didn't say anything. If one were to ask Yun Jian how she felt about this place, the answer would be simple. She had once walked at the peak of the world, becoming an existence at the top of society that everyone looked up to but could not reach. He had once been at the bottom of the valley. When he first joined in Han, his status was even lower than a dog's. Therefore, to her, no matter what the situation was, she could accept it. When Liang Xiumin asked this question, the little girl fell silent. Just when Yun Jian and Liang Xiumin thought that the little girl would not answer, she suddenly sobbed. "There's only me, my brother, and my grandmother at home. My father is dead, and my mother doesn't want us anymore." As she spoke, the little girl shrank back in fear. Yun Jian and Liang Xiumin later found out that the little girl's father had accidentally been crushed to death when he moved rocks in town to earn money. Her mother had run away with someone long ago and left the mountains. There was only a bedridden grandmother to take care of. Not only did the little girl have to bring her brother to school in town, but she also had to work in the fields whenever she was free. Otherwise, the family of 3 would starve to death. After the little girl finished speaking, Yun Jian and Liang Xiumin fell silent for 2 seconds. "But Ying, don't be afraid. Grandma said before that my mother will definitely come back." The little girl's name was Lu Ying. It was a very beautiful name. It was said that before her mother ran away with someone else, her father and they had asked a cultured person in Wuzhen to help them give her the name. Lu Ying's eyes were clear and pure, something that other children didn't have. This touched Liang Xiumin's heart. Yun Jian also blinked. Then where did your mother go? Liang Xiumin couldn't believe that Lu Ying's mother didn't want her anymore. She asked again. When Lu Ying heard this, she fell silent for a few seconds. Then she shook her head. I don't know, but my father said that my mother will definitely come back. My mother won't abandon us. Chapter 2060. Lu Ying's clear and firm eyes made people unwilling to break the only wish of this innocent little girl who missed her mother. Her wish was very simple. She wanted to live happily with her mother. Lu Ying's younger brother was called Lu Shi. The names of the two siblings were given by the cultured people in Wuzhen, so it sounded pretty good. At night, Yun Jian and Liang Xiumin were placed in the same room. The room was dark and damp. In the middle of winter, the two of them shared a quilt that had already been covered. The quilt smelled like someone had covered it. It was very smelly and very thin. This place is so shabby. The quilt that was given to us is so thin and cold, and it's so smelly. The room is as smelly as a pigsty. I want to go home. Liang Xiumin shrank her body. It was already the 100th time that she tried to dial the phone in her hand. However, there was no signal here at all. The phone could not be dialed. Not to mention the phone, there was not even an electric light here. They relied on candles for illumination at night. There were not even many candles. They were used sparingly. Liang Xiumin was a rich young lady. Naturally, she could not stay in such a place. Yun Jian could understand. After the quilt was covered, Yun Jian turned sideways and said to Liang Xiumin, "Sleep." At 1:30 in the morning, Liang Xiumin, who was still groggy and sleepy, gently pulled Yun Jian. Can you accompany me to the toilet? I'm a little scared. If she wanted to go to the toilet at night, she had to walk a few hundred meters before there was a latrine. There was no toilet at home. Yun Jian was used to wearing clothes at night. She turned over and stood up. Although Liang Xiumin did not understand why Yun Jian did not change into pajamas to sleep, she did not ask. After returning from the toilet, she happened to pass by the room of the little girl, Lu Ying, and her brother, Lu Shi. Sister, I'm so cold. Brother, be good. You won't be cold when you sleep. Go to sleep. If the quilt was on the body, no matter how cold it would not be so cold that he could not sleep. Yun Jian and Liang Xiumin could see through the thin gap of the window made of wood and paper that could not block the cold wind from blowing into the room. Lu Ying and Lu Shi did not cover themselves with anything. They only wore 2 more layers of clothes. They huddled together and shivered. The 2 extra layers of clothing were so thin that they were no different from not wearing anything at all. They were as thin as a piece of paper. Even an idiot could tell that the 2 young children had given up the only blanket that Liang Xiumin had complained about being thin, smelly, and dirty just now to Yun Jian and Liang Xiumin. Both Yun Jian and Liang Xiumin felt like they were deeply touched by something when they witnessed the scene. Even Yun Jian's face could not help but change. Liang Xiumin turned to glance at Yun Jian before she dashed into their room. Carrying the blanket to Lu Ying and Lu Shi's room, she tossed the blanket on their bed right in front of the couple. Liang Xiumin didn't know how to speak. By the time she reacted, Lu Ying and Lu Shi were already staring at her in a daze. Liang Xiumin made up her mind. She closed her eyes and said stubbornly, I was woken up by the smell of this blanket. Oof. With that, Liang Xiumin ran back to her in Yun Jian's room. An 11-year-old girl and a 9-year-old boy stared blankly at Liang Xiumin, who despised their quilt, running back to her room. They did not know what to do. Yun Jian, who was hiding in the dark, saw this and narrowed her eyes. Liang Xiumin was clearly freezing to death, but she still wanted to return the quilt to Lu Ying and Lu Shi. Her words were so harsh. However, it really did seem like her temperament as a young lady. Liang Xiumin was cold and did not sleep that night. The next morning, after Lu Ying made breakfast and fed it to her bedridden grandmother, Everyone sat at the table and had breakfast. Breakfast was porridge. There were no side dishes. Rather than porridge, it was more like a pot of water with a small handful of rice in it. It was a fragrant tea made from rice. Eating this would not fill one's stomach, but at least one would not starve to death. Before going to Wuzhen, Lu Ying drew a line on the wall next to her house. Half of the wall was already covered with countless Zheng characters. After Lu Ying finished this line, she pulled her brother and led Yun Jian and Liang Xiaomin to the mountain path in town. When they were about to reach school, Lu Ying's footsteps became lighter. Liang Xiaomin could not help but be curious and asked Lu Ying, "Little girl, what did you draw on the wall just now?" "Wait for Mom to come back." Lu Ying pulled her brother and walked briskly. She walked in front and suddenly turned her head and smiled at Yun Jian and Lu Shi, revealing her small canine teeth. Before Dad left, he said that as long as I filled the wall with Zheng characters, Mom will come back. Some people lived a luxurious life and ate fish and meat every day. But some people had very small wishes. No matter how poor and bitter they were, they only wanted their parents to grow up with them. Hey. Chapter 2061. They left at 4:30 p.m. and finally arrived at Wuzhen Elementary School at 6:30 p.m. Wuzhen Elementary School was different from other elementary schools. There were very few children in Wuzhen, and the number of people in each grade was not enough to form a class. So in Wuzhen Elementary School, grades 1, 2, and 3 were in one class, and grades 4, 5, and 6 were in one class. There were only 2 classes in the entire school. A place like Wuzhen Elementary School lacked teachers the most. But most of the teachers who graduated from universities did not want to come to such a poor mountainous area. Now, there were only 2 teachers in Wuzhen Elementary School. Other than the principal, there was also a female teacher who volunteered to come to the poor mountainous area. Seeing Lu Ying and Lu Shi enter the classroom, Yun Jian and Liang Xiaomin did not plan to follow. There were no activities on the first day of going to the countryside. All the university students who went to the countryside to teach gathered here and were immediately dismissed. From a second day onwards, every university student would be officially arranged to tutor the children here. Since they had nothing to do, Yun Jian and Liang Xiaomin went to town to buy a few large quilts. They also bought new quilts for Lu Ying and Lu Shi's grandma. At this moment, the two were passing by a large bamboo forest. There was only one bed and quilt shop in Wuzhen, and the bamboo forest was a must. There were trees planted all around the bamboo forest. The biggest difference between Wuzhen and other small towns was that there were a lot of bamboo and trees. The surrounding grass was also as tall as a person. If someone was hiding in the grass, it would be hard to find them. It's so easy to get them. These 2 women came here on their own. They're so King soft. I heard that they're female university students from the city. Knock them out. We'll take one each and CK them again after we're done. Just as they passed by the bamboo forest, 2 voices came from a corner. Liang Xiaomin naturally could not hear the whispers, but Yun Jian narrowed her eyes. After taking 3 steps forward, a gust of wind came from behind. Yun Jian did not even think about it. She grabbed Liang Xiaomin and threw the quilt to the side. She turned sideways and flipped over a dozen meters with Liang Xiaomin in just 3 seconds. When the 2 ruffians from Wuzhen saw this, they were shocked. This girl is so fast and fierce. These 2 old ruffians were old bachelors. Both of them had achieved nothing in their lives and could not afford to marry a woman. They had only slept with the lonely widows in town a few times. When the 2 old bachelors saw Yun Jian and Liang Xiaomin's soft and tender skin, their nether regions began to itch and they began to have naughty thoughts. Unexpectedly, Yun Jian found out. TSK female university student, you're so King soft and tender. Let me tell you, people rarely pass by this place. Today, it's useless even if you scream until your throat breaks. One of the old ruffians looked at Yun Jian with a lecherous gaze. Who says there's no one? I won't let you bully them. Just as Yun Jian narrowed her eyes, a righteous male voice sounded. Next, she saw a masculine and righteous man. The boy was about 20 years old. He was quite handsome and gave people the feeling of a gentle senior. Senior Mu Qiao? Liang Xiumin was stunned when she saw the boy. Senior Mu Yong was a student of Liang Xiumin school. He had only greeted Liang Xiumin twice, but they were not familiar with each other. TSK, boy, you're courting death. However, the two old ruffians did not wait for Liang Xiumin and Mu Yong to speak. They rushed over and gave the defenseless Mu Yong a few punches before tying him up. What should we do? Liang Xiumin saw that Mu Yong was tied up. She was so frightened that she grabbed Yunjian's hand and pulled Yunjian back to the bamboo forest. Yes, what should we do? You two should just follow us. Our big brother has been lonely for so many years. It's not easy to catch you. Let's have some fun. One of the old ruffians walked over with a smirk. Seeing this, Liang Xiumin was even more frightened. Let them go. Let them go. Hit me. Hit me if you have the guts. Let them go. Mu Yong shouted when he saw this. The other old ruffian stepped on Mu Yong's head and viciously stomped on Mu Yong a few times. He shouted, "Boy, behave yourself. Otherwise, I'll kill you." After that, he tied Mu Yong to a tree and continued to walk toward Yunjian and Liang Xiumin. Little girl, what are you thinking? Want to escape? No way. If you know what's good for you, come here obediently and let us kill you. Otherwise, the old ruffian saw that Yunjian narrowed her eyes and seemed to be thinking about something. He laughed. I'm thinking about how to kill you. Unknowingly, a butterfly knife appeared in Yunjian's hand. She played with the butterfly knife and suddenly spoke. The two old ruffians were startled, but the two old ruffians were also frightened. Naturally, they were not afraid and continued to walk toward Yunjian and Liang Xiumin. Little girl, we are frightened. Let alone you. Even if an assassin agent comes, I'll kill her. The two old ruffians sneered and continued to walk toward them. Is that so? What a coincidence. Yunjian played with the butterfly knife twice and stood in front of the old ruffians. Then, in front of the few people present, she spoke fearlessly. But what she said made everyone present stunned. In the 7 years since my debut, I've taken on 1027 assassination missions and annihilated 109 assassin organizations. I don't know if I'm the same as the assassin agent you said. Hey. Chapter 2062. Yunjian was 18 years old this year. She started killing people when she was 12 years old, which meant that she started accepting missions. She was 16 years old before her rebirth and 15 years old after her rebirth. After 3 years, her current body was 18 years old, but if she started her career, she would be 19 years old now. So it was not wrong that she started her career 7 years ago. And these 1027 assassination missions were from 109 assassin organizations. The assassination missions were calculated according to the missions accepted on the International Assassin website. In other words, after the Holy Spring and her rebirth, Yunjian almost never accepted assassination missions. This was her previous record. As for the 109 assassin organizations, they were all the assassin organizations she had eliminated in her previous life and all the assassin organizations she had eliminated after her rebirth. Not to mention the fact that ordinary people would find this data unbelievable. Even in the assassin and agent circle, it was a level that no one could surpass. Even though Yunjian had not returned to the assassin and agent circle for 3 years. A true legend was not just a legend for a short period of time. Becoming a legend at the fastest speed and falling at a shocking speed was not something a strong person should do. Even though she had been missing for 2 years, once she returned, she was still a legend that no one could surpass. She was still the king of secret agents. Yunjian had done this. At this time, after hearing Yunjian's professional words, the two old ruffians' hearts skipped a beat. Even Liang Xiumin's expression changed slightly in shock. The agent Yunjian was talking about should be the special forces, right? Mu Yao, who was tied up by the two old ruffians, also widened her eyes in shock. She had to admit that Yunjian's words were too unbelievable. She was an assassin or an agent. Was this for real? The two old ruffians still had some common sense. Although the people in Wuzhen were poor and had a hard life, that was only limited to the honest and honest people. Like these two old ruffians, they usually tricked the people who went to the city to deliver goods to and from the city for free. Or they would go to someone's family to steal some money. They had done such things many times. They had been to the city a few times and had seen more than those who had never left Wuzhen in their lives. After hearing Yunjian's words, the shorter old ruffian glanced at Yunjian. "Little girl, don't bully us because we are from Wuzhen. We have been to the big cities. Some people are not so easy to fool. You said you were an assassin agent? Who are you trying to fool? Aren't you just a university student who came from someplace? Do you think we are fooling you? You think you can pretend to be an assassin with a knife? I grew up scared." As he spoke, the short ruffian wanted to go over and snatch the butterfly knife from Yunjian. The taller old ruffian also went over to help him. Liang Xiumin was in Wuzhen, but she was in Wuzhen. Yunjian was still here, and so was Senior Mu Qiong, who had saved them just now, even though she failed to do so. The two ruffians went to Yunjian right under Liang Xiumin and Mu Yu's eyes. However, before anyone could react, Yunjian, who was standing not far away, gave a cold red arc. In the next breath, everyone could only feel their clothes being blown by a sudden strong wind, and their skin that was stuck to their clothes felt cold. In a speed that no one could see clearly, Yunjian suddenly stretched out her hands and held a butterfly knife in each hand. She quickly walked to the front of the two old ruffians and held the butterfly knife with both hands. She slid the blade of the butterfly knife from the two old ruffians' navels to their hearts. At the same time, she was facing the two old ruffians. As she moved her hands, she lightly kicked the ground with her legs and did a somersault. She did not touch the two old ruffians at all and flipped over their heads. Hiss! When everyone reacted, the two ruffians' clothes were torn by Yunjian. By the time everyone realized what had happened, the clothes of the two old ruffians had already been torn apart, and the place where the last cut had been made was precisely where their hearts were. If the blade had slid a little deeper, then when the two old ruffians realized this, their faces turned pale. At this time, Yunjian, who was already standing behind the two old ruffians, spoke in an extremely calm voice. That voice was like the scythe of the grim reaper chopping down on people's heads, with a frightening magic. Want to go to hell and try it? Hey! Chapter 2063. I'll send you to hell for free. Just when the two old ruffians witnessed Yunjian's perfect knife skills, Yunjian's voice came from behind them. That chilly tone that did not contain the slightest hint of a joke was like the grim reaper from hell with a scythe in his hand. It was as if that soul-shaking sound had come from the hall of hell. The two old ruffians widened their eyes, and their frightened bodies trembled. You, who are you? Even a female university student who fell behind is not as good as you. Are you a university student or not? That short old ruffian slowly turned around. He didn't have time to cover his exposed skin, but exposed his hairy chest in front of everyone and said in a daze, "Female university students were usually delicate girls who studied in school. Usually, after running 800 meters, they would be so tired that their chest heaved up and down and they would gasp for breath. These two old ruffians, however, were genuine farmers. They did rough work every day and had done rough work all their lives. Not to mention other things, they were full of strength. At least, that female university student was powerless in the hands of these two old ruffians. But just now, when the two of them were dealing with Yunjian, they couldn't even touch the corner of her clothes. Furthermore, she actually jumped up and flipped over their heads at the same time, using the two butterfly knives to cut open their clothes. What kind of speed and strength was this? But even so, these two old ruffians didn't believe that Yunjian was an assassin or a secret agent. Whether I'm a university student or not, haven't I already said it? Yunjian was already standing in front of the two old ruffians. Her hands nimbly and freely played with the two butterfly knives. She played with the extremely difficult butterfly knives incisively and vividly. Then, Liang Xiaomin and that senior named Mu Yong saw such a shocking scene. Yun Jin took 2 steps toward the 2 old ruffians. The 2 old ruffians were so scared that they took 2 steps back. This was a sharp contrast to the 2 old ruffians' arrogance at the beginning. You 2 old ruffians. Could it be that the female university student you're talking about has already been? When Liang Xiaomin heard that the 2 old ruffians had just met a female university student, she was so scared that her face suddenly changed. Since the short old ruffian said that the girl who fell behind wasn't as powerful as Yun Jian, it meant that the 2 old ruffians had already done something to her. What the 2 old ruffians wanted to do to Yun Jian and Liang Xiaomin, they must have already done it to the female university student who was left behind. It's her fault for wearing so little. She's only wearing a pair of shorts and long, flesh-colored socks in the middle of winter. The women in our town don't show their thighs, even in summer. It's as if she's not wearing anything. She's not trying to seduce us. She just wants us to do her. What else can she do? The short ruffian still had a reason to quibble. This short old ruffian had a lot of chest hair, the kind that was thick and dense, looking like the body hair of a gorilla. Of course, the short old ruffian's chest hair was concentrated on one point, which made him look even more disgusting. Hearing the old ruffian's words, Liang Xiaomin was so scared that she almost cried. After all, Liang Xiaomin was a pampered person and had never seen such a scene. She felt sorry for the unfortunate female university student, but she was also afraid that if Yun Jian didn't have the ability to do so just now, then wouldn't she and Yun Jian? I don't care what reason you're using to clear your name. Since you've touched someone, you should pay the price. As Yun Jian spoke, her cold eyes deepened. She held the butterfly knife and walked towards the 2 old ruffians. You, what do you want to do? Let me tell you, it's illegal to hurt someone. The 2 old ruffians were so scared that they retreated. Mu Xiao, who was tied up by the 2 old ruffians, was stunned when she saw this. But in the next second, Mu Xiao heard Yun Jian say, "Is rape not a crime?" At that time, have you ever thought that you've already committed a crime? These words made Mu Xiao want to clap her hands and cheer. But Mu Xiao was tied up. But at this moment, Mu Xiao suddenly saw Yun Jian holding 2 butterfly knives and directly stabbing them into the thighs of the 2 old ruffians who were about to retreat. Ah! 2 screams pierced through the sky. Blood flowed out. But Yun Jian didn't care about this at all. After she took out the 2 butterfly knives, she turned around and faced the 2 old ruffians with her back facing them. She sneered, "I'll cripple one of your legs. In order to repay the surprise you gave me just now, I'll return the favor. If someone passes by here and saves you, you're lucky. If not, then go to hell." That you're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.